Chapter 1500. Wang Ling turned his body sideways and looked at Dumbass out of the corner of his eye. He felt that he should help Wang Ming with this favor. Because Wang Ming rarely specifically came to ask for his help, it was Wang Ling who would look for Wang Ming from time to time about the talisman. Furthermore, Wang Ling was also doing this for his own sake. Wang Ming was born without the ability to cultivate, but he was recognized as the strongest brain. Jia Yin wasn't the strongest brain, but he was already at the nascent soul stage at a young age. In some ways, Jia Yin could actually be considered a genius cultivator on Earth. Unfortunately, because of Wang Ling's existence, most geniuses would pale in comparison to Wang Ling. But Jia Yin's foundation was actually very good. At the nascent soul stage at this age, he had a bright future ahead of him. Wang Ling felt that given the speed of his growth, it definitely wouldn't be difficult for Jia Yin's battle strength to surpass the current 10 generals. And with this kind of complementation, the offspring created by Wang Ming and Jia Yin, from a genetic point of view, should be very strong. Thus, after hearing Wang Ming's request, Wang Ling started to imagine what the two of them would do in the future. If Wang Ming couldn't solve the problem with his talisman, then he would still have little Wang Ming, which was reassuring to hear. But even so, he couldn't use the enlightening spell carelessly. There was a balance that needed to be paid attention to. Wang Ming's current physical quality was indeed very weak, but if he used the 100% enlightening spell, it would be a little too strong. So after thinking it over, Wang Ling stretched out his hand from under the covers and lightly tapped Wang Ming's forehead. Bzzzt. With a quick flash of golden light, the enlightening spell had already been used. That's it? Wang Ming was blank. He didn't feel any change in his body, nor did he feel anything special. This is the 1% enlightening spell, Wang Ling said telepathically. Given Wang Ming's current situation, the 1% enlightening spell was actually the safest. His enlightening spell could divide the enlightening development degree to begin with. It was just that Wang Ling rarely used the 1% enlightening spell. As for whether it was useful or not, he would have to combine it with practical training to know. At that moment it was clear that Wang Ming had comprehended something from Wang Ling's delicate dead fish eyes. Without another word, he rushed into the toilet. He didn't come out until 2 hours later. 10:10. Ling Ling, you're too strong. Wang Ming instantly jumped onto the bed and exclaimed, "What the hell, 2 hours and it still hasn't gone soft?" Wang Ling, only he himself understood his own situation the best. It had to be known that Wang Ming's usual best record was 20 minutes, and to reach this peak condition, it depended on probability. But now, Wang Ming realized that he had really become stronger. The 1% enchantment spell had turned him into a real tough guy. Moreover, he felt that he should be able to last longer. The main reason was that the 2 hours in the toilet hadn't ended yet, and Wang Ming was a little impatient. In the end, he could only take another shower and force himself to calm down. This is too useful. It's really amazing. As he spoke, Wang Ming wrapped himself around Wang Ling with the quilt like before. However, unlike before, this time, he was excited. He suddenly realized that it was great to have such a younger brother. Then, Wang Ming sat up cross-legged and looked at Wang Ling with a solemn expression. "Ling Ling, don't worry, your brother will definitely solve your talisman problem before you graduate from high school. If I can't, I'll be impotent for the rest of my life." Wang Ling was stunned when he heard this. He sighed in his heart. Wang Ming had finally said something sensible, however, this oath was a little too vicious. Fortunately, the enchantment spell wasn't the light blessing spell, and didn't have Monk Jin Dang's ability. Otherwise, if he couldn't figure it out when the time came, his words would become a prophecy. Wang Ming would probably regret it for the rest of his life. Then rest early, Ling Ling, get up at 3:00 tomorrow. I hear there's activity. Wang Ming was satisfied that his request had been fulfilled. Before he got out of bed, he had wanted to steal a peek at Wang Ling, but realized that Wang Ling was already on guard, so Wang Ling hid his head under the quilt like a kangaroo. Wang Ming smiled, and before he left, he patted Wang Ling's butt lightly. He said good night in a way that was unique to men. Then, he returned to his room. At that moment, Wang Ming was lying on the bed with his eyes closed, looking like he was resting. But the truth was that his mind had never stopped calculating. Wang Ming had said that deadly oath very seriously, and he hadn't been deliberately boasting. Rather, he really did have the confidence. It had already been 10 years since Wang Ling's first version of the Tao Talisman. In these 10 years, the calculations in Wang Ming's mind had never stopped. And Wang Ming's intuition told him he would find the answer very soon. On the other side, Lotus Sun and Jai Yin were both sleepless. That night, the two of them had an in-depth discussion on the topic of unrequited love. Jai Yin straightaway moved the big bed in the other room over and joined it with Lotus Sun's. The two of them rolled around on the bed for a while with bright smiles on their faces. Lotus Sun had originally planned to call 2 female masseuses over for an essential oil treatment. But when she remembered that she and Jai Yin had to discuss something more private, she dismissed the idea. "Let me help you, Miss Rong," Jai Yin volunteered. "Just call me Rong, Miss Rong, you're being too polite." "Then I'll also help Sister Factor with a back massage later," Lotus Sun said with a smile. "All right." Jai Yin agreed readily. At that moment, Lotus Sun unbuckled her back and lay down on the spacious bed. She had put 2 layers of white bath towels under her to prevent the essential oil from dripping onto the bed sheets. Jai Yin took the essential oil which Lotus Sun had prepared in advance and poured a little onto her palm. A strong yet not pungent fragrance wafted over. It was incomparably fresh, and it revealed a kind of refreshing smell that made one feel relaxed and happy. What a special essential oil. "It's actually pink, I've never seen it before," Jai Yin exclaimed. "It's especially good at removing wrinkles, whitening, and antioxidant aging. It can also break down moles and pimples." Lotus Sun smiled. "It's a new product developed by our family. If Sister Factor doesn't mind, I'll give you a new bottle later." In fact, Lotus Sun had neglected to mention that this newly developed product actually hadn't hit the market yet, because it didn't contain ingredients from Earth. The main extract of this pink essential oil came from the Immortal Star, where Lotus Sun had retrieved the old Rubik's Cube. It was a pink spring substance on the Immortal Star called the Immortal Spring. But Lotus Sun knew that Jai Yin probably didn't know that much at the moment. Thus, she didn't go into too much detail. "Thank you so much." Jai Yin didn't stand on ceremony at all. Soon after, she rubbed the essential oil on her palm until it was warm. Starting from the girl's smooth and white shoulder blade, she pushed it outward like she was doing Tai Chi. Lotus Sun couldn't help but cry out. Because it was really too comfortable. "Why does it feel like Sister Factor is very professional? Comrades often get sprained during training in the army, so I came up with some massage techniques." Jai Yin smiled. "Just enjoy it. My skills aren't inferior to those of the old masters in the shops outside." Sister Factor is amazing." Lotus Sun closed her eyes, a very satisfied expression on her face. Jai Yin's hands were like a magician's. All kinds of massage techniques emerged one after another as she skillfully spread the essential oil on the girl's back bit by bit. Her skin was white and smooth, and even at such a close distance, it seemed like no pores could be seen. Jai Yin felt a burst of envy. There were no outsiders here, and Jai Yin's massage was so comfortable that Lotus Sun almost fell asleep. But very quickly, she suddenly remembered that tonight's focus wasn't entirely on maintenance. Thus, Lotus Sun quickly cut to the chase and asked a question she had wanted to ask for a long time. "Sister Factor, did you like Brother Ming a long time ago?" How did you know?" Jai Yin's fingers paused. "Is it very obvious?" "No, it's just a hunch." Lotus Sun shook her head slightly and lay on the bed. "I've never met Sister Factor before. I remember that as soon as you came out of the arrival gate today, your eyes were fixed on Brother Ming the entire time. You didn't miss a single minute or second. Are you exaggerating?" Jai Yin's face burned a little at her words. "Does Sister Factor not know whether I am or not?" Lotus Sun curled her lips slightly. The reason why she had been able to sense the adoration in Jia Yin's eyes today was because of her. Speaking of which, it also had something to do with her. Because Lotus Sun realized that the way Jia Yin looked at Wang Ming was very similar to how she looked at Wang Ling. There was a kind of urgency in the gentleness, but at the same time, there was a hint of resentment mixed in with disappointment at iron for not becoming steel, as well as a wanton liking. It was indeed me who first noticed your brother Ming back then. There was a smile in Jia Yin's eyes as she told her own story. I saw him by chance when I was on a mission. And then you fell in love with him? Lotus Sun asked curiously. Yes. Jia Yin nodded. And then? After that, I was like an infatuated girl, and kept investigating him for clues. Jia Yin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But you also know that Ming's real identity isn't simple. Ming was the dumbass Wang Ming. This was Jia Yin's nickname for Wang Ming. When I investigated him at that time, I discovered that he was a matryoshka doll, and every single one of them was a fake. That's why I wondered if he was a spy sent by another country. Pfft. Lotus Sun couldn't help laughing out loud. She had never expected this at all. The higher-ups kept his identity a strict secret. But I was a little stubborn at the time, and kept investigating in secret. I kept collecting evidence that Ming was a spy. After my leader found out about me, he was so angry that he punished me several times. After that, President Xi contacted me, and it just so happened that he was helping Wang Ming recruit guards. My leader saw this as an opportunity, and took the initiative to contact me. Then, I was transferred over. It was only then that I realized that he wasn't a spy. That's great. Lotus Sun was full of envy. If Brother Ming knew, he would definitely laugh himself silly, right? Given his temper, he would definitely make fun of me. But I think that since we're together, we shouldn't hold anything back, Jia Yin said. After saying so much, in her days, Jia Yin indeed thought of a lot of things. She recalled the days when she had started to love Wang Ming, and her heart instantly felt melancholy. Only Jia Yin herself knew how she had managed to survive those days. Now that she had finally obtained the fruits of victory, Jia Yin felt that everything had been worth it as she reflected on the choices she had made in the past. Back then, Jia Yin hadn't believed in love at first sight, until she happened to see Wang Ming's high-spirited appearance. In that instant, she was certain that this was the person she was looking for, and this secret crush was in fact one of Jia Yin's most precious secrets. She had told Wang Ming before about exchanging secrets, and this was the secret she was going to tell him. If she didn't, perhaps Wang Ming would never know how long this female special forces soldier had liked him. It looks like what I said made Sister Factor think of a lot of things. Lotus Sun lay on the bed and smiled lazily. Your Sister Factor has too much experience, and I haven't thought of what to say yet. Jia Yin also smiled. But there's a lot of time ahead, and I have plenty of time to tell you. But you have to keep this a secret from me. Of course. Lotus Sun nodded. I love listening to stories. Alright, the essential oil is almost dry, and my mouth is also dry from talking. Help me after I drink some water. At that moment, Jia Yin lightly patted the girl's slippery back. No problem. Lotus Sun smiled. Then, she saw Jia Yin take out her canteen and a dropper. She slowly sucked the water out of the canteen and dripped it onto a piece of test paper. Jia Yin had filled the canteen directly from the bathroom faucet. It was straight drinking water, and actually didn't need to be filtered. But for safety reasons, Jia Yin still wanted to do a test herself. Come to think of it, this seemed to be an occupational disease of Special Forces soldiers. They were very cautious in everything they did. Sister Factor is so interesting. Lotus Sun smiled foolishly. When you're outside, safety comes first. You have to be careful in everything you do, Jia Yin said. She looked at the test results on the test paper, and after confirming that it was safe and non-toxic, she breathed a sigh of relief. Before Lotus Sun massaged her with essential oil, Jia Yin glanced at her phone again and saw that Immortal Harmony had sent a message in the group chat. She said to Lotus Sun, "It looks like we'll have to get up early tomorrow. and there seems to be an event. What event? The group said that we have to get up at 3 tomorrow to watch the sunrise on Heavenly Stem Mountain. After eating on the top of the mountain, we'll report to school. I heard that 6th Madam has good intentions. 6th Madam? These words made Lotus Sun a little more vigilant. She immediately thought of the air crash that had almost happened on the immortal boat, and her eyes became even more vigilant. She didn't know why 6th Madam would want to kill them. But mountaineering was actually the most prone to accidents. What if this was a premeditated plot? What should they do? Lotus Sun thought to herself. But as the #1 foundation establishment cultivator on Earth, Lotus Sun naturally had nothing to fear. She was just a little curious as to why 6th Madam had tried to kill them again and again. Tuesday, December 15th. In the wee hours of the morning, in front of 6th Madam's mansion, a black shadow silently scuttled out from an inexplicable position and knelt at the door with its head bowed. Has everything been taken care of? 9 Palace Star Splendor's voice rang out, carrying an intimidating tone of a queen. Don't worry, madam, everything has been taken care of. Someone in the black shadow muttered to himself. He didn't raise his head and maintained his current posture. A new maid has been brought, and this time, according to madam's orders, the team has brought 4 people to serve madam. They're all professionally trained and simple-minded girls. Well done. 9 Palace Star Splendor nodded, and his voice sounded particularly low. The 2 girls who accompanied me to Tianxian Temple today are pretty good children. It should be an honor for them to be chosen as sacrifices. Madam shouldn't be telling me this. This subordinate was just following orders. The expression on the man in black's face was neither sad nor joyless. You're quite dedicated. 9 Palace Star Splendor sneered. The main reason why she had adjusted the number of sacrifices to 4 was that the ghost she was raising had been injured in this operation. Thus, more sacrifices were needed to recover its strength. As she had expected, there was definitely a hidden expert among the people from number 60 high. I've already seen the information on those people. I need you to focus on investigating the background of that man called Wang Xiao, heir, Jiu Gong Xing Hui said. Yes. The man in black nodded. Then, like a bolt of lightning, he quickly turned into a bolt of lightning and disappeared. Sensing that the man in black's aura had completely disappeared, in 6th Madam's mansion, 9 Palace Star Splendor had the following conversation with another unfamiliar voice. Why do you suspect that person? The voice was sharp and lingering, and in sharp contrast to 6th Madam's, there was a hint of malice in it. It said that he's the only one who can't sense any fluctuations of spirit energy. Furthermore, he was the one who cut off the hair. It's impossible for an ordinary person to have the strength to cut off a strand of hair. 9 Palace Star Splendor smiled. As for that student Wang and eldest Miss Sun, their strength is absolutely real. That eldest miss might be a little stronger than the average foundation establishment cultivator, but her battle strength doesn't surpass that of a golden core cultivator. So what do you plan to do next? I organized the mountaineering operation. A foundation establishment cultivator won't be able to survive at that height. When the time comes, I'll push one of them down and we'll know. 9 Palace Star Splendor's expression darkened, and he smiled as he said, in a moment of crisis like that, if one of the 3 was hiding his strength, he would definitely be exposed. At 3:00, the sky above Sun Island was still dark. Wang Ling actually hadn't slept at all. He had just put his brain into hibernation mode, and then set the timer to turn on. Once it was time, his dead fish eyes would automatically pop open. Wang Ling walked over to take a look at Wang Ming's condition. He had already set an alarm clock on his tablet. From 3:00 to 3:20 he had set a total of 10 alarm clocks to ring. He had set one every few minutes. Generally speaking, Wang Ming probably wouldn't wake up until all the alarms had rung. Wang Ling crouched down and was about to shake Wang Ming awake, when he suddenly heard Wang Ming murmur, "Let the parabola be on the y-axis, then we get dy, xy, py." Was he calculating in his dreams? For a moment, Wang Ling was a little dazed. Then, about 2 minutes later, Wang Ming's second alarm clock rang. All of a sudden, the tablet emitted a warning sound. Then, a series of densely packed data symbols swiftly popped up on the tablet. Suddenly, Wang Ling had an ominous premonition. He could tell that the scrolling image on the tablet was some kind of smart hacking program. Wang Ling took 2 steps back. Then, with a whoosh sound, the hotel's smoke alarm sprinkler was directly activated, and water directly splashed over Wang Ming's face and body. "Why is it already 3:00? Rubbing his face, Wang Ming calmly got out of bed, stretched, and then stripped naked in front of Wang Ling. Wang Ming, Ling, go to the bathroom and get me some body wash, shampoo, toothpaste and toothbrush. I need to take a refreshing shower. Water is precious, don't waste it. Wang Ling, as expected of you." And so, when they gathered at the entrance of the hotel 10 minutes later, Wang Ming was the only one who smelled like he had just taken a shower. "When did you become so clean?" Jai Yin thought it was a little inconceivable. Sometimes, when Wang Ming was completely engrossed in calculating some research formula, he would forcibly use elixirs to keep his body afloat for several days and nights without sleep or rest, and didn't even have time to take a shower. "This is the wet alarm clock plug-in I designed before. I didn't expect it to be so useful. Don't worry, I won't need it in the future." Wang Ming smiled, then whispered in Jai Yin's ear, "From now on, Daimi will help me wash. Whether it's big Wang Ming or little Wang Ming, I'll leave it to you." Jai Yin instantly flushed. Rogue, Wang Ling and Lotus Sun tacitly turned their heads to look elsewhere. Don't listen to indecent things. As it turned out, sometimes having a strong sense of hearing wasn't a good thing. Not long after, luminous Immortal Harmony appeared at the door. He had rushed over from his own mansion. "I'm sorry for the long wait. We'll set off now." "Where's Teacher Fire?" asked Lotus Sunday. "Teacher Fire needs to deal with the handover between 9 Paths and the high school, so he won't be able to participate in today's sunrise." "I see. But please rest assured, with this old man following me the whole way, there won't be any accidents. I grew up near Heavenly Stem Mountain, so I'm all too familiar with it," Immortal Harmony said confidently. When they arrived at the foot of Heavenly Stem Mountain, climbing it wasn't as tiring as Wang Ling had imagined. He followed number 60 squad up more than 2,000 meters, but didn't feel the slightest bit tired. The main reason was that he had used the Great Lightness Body technique to reduce his weight sharply. This made Wang Ling feel even less tired. The point was that Wang Ling had to use the Great Lightness Body technique. Otherwise, with his weight, he wouldn't be able to climb the mountain. Every step he took caused the mountain to collapse and the earth to crack, but they were only a third of the way up Heavenly Stem Mountain. On Heavenly Stem Mountain, there was a small rest stop every few hundred meters. Who knew if it was because he had drunk too much water, but Immortal Harmony felt like he couldn't hold it in. "Sorry, students, please wait here for a moment. Don't leave, and don't go to dangerous places on your own. I'll be back in a bit." Hands in his trouser pockets, Wang Ling went to the fence a few meters away from the rest stop and gazed at the scenery below. In fact, this was Wang Ling's deliberate seduction. Because before he had climbed the mountain, he had already had a premonition that someone was following them with bad intentions. So they're here. At that moment, Wang Ling's heart stirred, and then he felt a strong push on his back. Then, he tumbled down the cliff. Chapter 1501. The moment he fell off the cliff, he was wondering if his acting skills were up to par. Was there anything artificial or unnatural about it? He felt that there shouldn't be. After all, that person hadn't seen Wang Ling's face when he had pushed him off. Wang Ling had wanted to pretend to be terrified, and then let out an "Aya." Unfortunately, he didn't seem to know what fear was. Since he was a child, his greatest fear had been that he would blow up the earth, or that he would carelessly roll over in his sleep and lose control of his strength, and then when he woke up, his home would be gone. But for him, these things were just fears. They were far from terrifying. After that pair of hands hidden in the shadows pushed him off, a sinister smile appeared on his face. In the darkness, the split corners of his mouth and his big white teeth were particularly conspicuous. He looked like Little Black in some detective cartoon. Done, he's finally done. In the shadows, the man's bloodshot eyes were wide open, and there was a hint of madness in them as he kept muttering to himself, perfect, too perfect. This parabola. If you looked closely at his body, you would realize that he didn't have feet at all. The man's entire lower body was a shadow connected to the ground, from which he had emerged just now. In fact, he was also a ghost called the mountain climbing ghost. He only obeyed 6 Madame's orders. Over the years, he had been responsible for all the accidents that had happened on Heavenly Stem Mountain from time to time. His real name was Zhang Shisheng, and he was an excellent maths teacher who was very good at calculating functions, parabolas, and the like. As a maths teacher, Zhang Shisheng had always felt that he shouldn't be limited to the rigid cases in the textbooks. He should try them himself, and combine them with practical training to leave a deeper impression on the students. Zhang Shisheng's frantic pursuit of practical training gradually increased the mental pressure on him, and eventually, unknowingly, it turned into depression. Zhang Shisheng's last practical training had been to demonstrate what it meant to do a perfect parabola, and jump off a cliff in front of all the students on Heavenly Stem Mountain. Then, he never came back up again. After Zhang Shisheng's death from falling off a cliff, his deeds became a laughingstock among many students. Over time, Zhang Shisheng became the sacrifice Zhang in everyone's mouths, a negative example among the teachers. It was recorded in the terrifying legends of Sun Island. The students who had seen Zhang sacrifice himself and fall off the cliff. In the end, they all suffered from depression and chose to end their lives by jumping down from high places. They were like a group of cursed people. Those whose realms were not high enough would die with just a jump. As for those students with slightly higher realms, they might not die after jumping once, so they jumped a second time, a third time. Zhang Jiaxi had existed for a very long time. People thought that it was just a legend. But no one thought that it was a real ghost. You guys didn't expect this, did you? My sacrifice is real. After completing 6 Madame's mission, Zhang Jisher's expression was one of pride and appreciation. He stared at the abyss below as if he was looking at a work of art, admiring his criminal masterpiece. The 6th Madame had told him that if this person fell down, the others would react. Among the 3 people from number 60 high, there was a hidden expert. Zhang Jiaxi had been keeping an eye on Wang Ming since they had climbed the mountain. However, what puzzled Zhang Jisher was that the remaining people didn't react at all. He saw Wang Ming and Lotus Sun walking toward the edge of the cliff. There wasn't the slightest hint of sadness on their faces. They were even smiling. He's smiling. Wang Ming curled his lips. Hey, Ling Ling can't be killed at this height, right? Lotus Sun also laughed. That's right, classmate Wang Ling can't be hurt at this distance. Fortunately, the distance wasn't too high, and classmate Wang Ling also used the great lightweight body technique. If it's a little higher, given student Ling's physical strength and the acceleration of gravity alone, even if he's using the great lightweight body technique, he'll still be able to make a violent impact with the ground. Its power should not be inferior to a small nuclear warhead, right? Hearing this, Zhang Jiaxi was stunned. Then, in the next moment, his expression became ferocious again. He hated those people who clearly saw those people getting injured, but they just stood there and watched. This scene in particular reminded Zhang Jiaxi of when he had been suffering from depression and had risked his life to teach students to jump off a cliff, and how those students standing on the cliff had looked at him coldly and laughed at him. Zhang Jiaxi's monstrous hatred made him stretch out his claws once again. He reached out toward Wang Ming and Lotus Sun. I advise you to stop. Just then, Zhang Jiaxi suddenly heard Wang Ming's voice from the edge of the cliff. Wang Ming turned to look at him with a smile on his face. You can see me? Zhang Jiaxi was horrified. I can't, but my little brother can. Wang Ming spread his hands helplessly as he looked at Zhang Jiaxi. At that moment, Zhang Jiaxi saw that the dead fish-eyed teenager whom he had pushed off earlier actually appear behind Wang Ming, unscathed, as if by magic. Then, standing next to Wang Ming, the 2 brothers looked at him helplessly. This is impossible. He was clearly a ghost, but Zhang Jiaxi was frightened by Wang Ling at that moment. He roared in disbelief, I already pushed him off. The most perfect parabola. Wang Ling sighed. While this ghost was indeed very strong, it didn't seem very smart. When Zhang Jiaxi had pushed him off the cliff, he had indeed thought about getting rid of him. But after seeing Zhang Jiaxi's memories, he had instantly dispelled that idea. He had the king's eye and the ability to use fate Dao. It was really too easy for him to read the reason why a ghost had taken shape in an instant. In fact, when Zhang Jiaxi had first become a ghost, he had been a good ghost. This kind of ghost was also known as a guardian spirit. His madness for teaching had caused him to fall into severe depression, which eventually led to the unfortunate incident of him falling off a cliff while climbing a mountain. Zhang Jiaxi was worried that his students would follow in his footsteps. He had become the guardian spirit of all his students to ensure that they could grow up safely and healthily. Until one day, 6th Madam discovered Zhang Jiaxi's existence. She tampered with Zhang Jiaxi's memories. She changed those lovely and kind students into cold-blooded and indifferent students, and gradually aroused the hatred in Zhang Jiaxi's heart. He forgot about those students who loved his teaching style and had wept bitterly when he had jumped off the cliff that day. He forgot about the anxiety and despair they had felt when they had organized the rescue that day. Regardless of the danger, they had gone down the mountain to search for Teacher Zhang's whereabouts before the rescue team arrived. Although in the end, it was already too late. Wang Ling saw all of this. He immediately changed his mind. Teacher Zhang was a good teacher. Every debt has a debtor, and every debt has a debtor. All the debts should be placed on the 6th Madam. Set yourself free, the next moment. With a thought, Wang Ling stretched out his index finger and gently touched the spot between Zhang Jiaxi's eyebrows. Buzz. There was a flash of golden light. All the tampered memories were instantly corrected. All of a sudden, the man remembered his true mission. 2 streams of tears flowed down from his eyes. Thank you. With a smile on his face, Zhang Jiaxi parted ways in front of all of them. A teacher who had wholeheartedly thought about his students even after his death shouldn't be treated like this. Wang Ling had used his own strength to set Zhang Jiaxi free and send him to reincarnation. And in the next reincarnation, Zhang Jiaxi would still be an outstanding, accomplished teacher who was loved and respected by his students. Is it all over? Wang Ming asked. Wang Ling nodded. In fact, the whole process had happened very quickly. Before Yin Xian and Hemming had even come out of the toilet, this mountain-climbing ghost, Zhang Jiaxi, had been perfectly dealt with. Then, Wang Ling shared Zhang Jiaxi's original memories with Wang Ming, Lotus Sun, and Zhai Yin, who had been staring at him in utter shock. Student Wang Ling, it turns out you're so awesome. Zhai Yin walked over with an indescribably stunned expression on her face. That was right. Wang Ling had laid his cards on the table. He felt that this was actually a pretty good opportunity. Factor, this is actually what I've been hiding from you. At that moment, Wang Ming said, as you can see, my little brother is very strong. That's why I need to develop a talisman to suppress his strength. Otherwise, he won't be able to control himself. That's right. I really didn't expect your little brother to actually have the strength of a soul formation cultivator at his age. Zhai Yin felt that this was a little too much information. Wang Ling, Wang Ming, and Lotus Sun, at that moment, Zhai Yin saw the 3 of them staring at her with blank expressions on their faces, and hurriedly said, Don't worry, I won't tell anyone. Everyone. Chapter 1502. It turns out that people's imagination is always limited by their own experiences. After she finished speaking, the surroundings fell into a long period of silence. Wang Ling felt helpless. Of course, Zhai Yin couldn't be blamed for this. It was mainly because of the series of actions that she had used to deal with Zhang Jiaxiang. The scene was too small and far from Zhai Yin's understanding. Like Lotus Sun, Zhai Yin had witnessed the battle between Wang Ling and Peng Shiren. He would never have come to such a conclusion. Did I say something wrong? Why are you all looking at me like that? Zhai Yin didn't understand. She tilted her head, a huge question mark on her forehead. Wang Ming laughed and couldn't help rubbing Zhai Yin's face. What? Jai Yin was a little embarrassed. I just think you're a little cute. Wang Ming smiled. Say, why do I care so much for you? Don't be like that. It's not good if others see it. Jai Yin's face was red. We're all on the same side, what's there to be embarrassed about? Besides, Mr. Yingzhan hasn't come back from the toilet yet. Wang Ming wasn't polite at all, and directly leaned over to hug her like a piece of sticky candy. Jai Yin helplessly smiled bitterly, but soon frowned. Speaking of which, Mr. Yingzhan seems to have been in there for a while. Why aren't they out yet? Yeah, it seems like it's been a long time. Wang Ming used Wang Ling 3's see-through thermal sensor to take a look, and saw that Immortal Harmony was still crouching. From the looks of it, there didn't seem to be anything unusual. Usually, a cultivator with a normal diet would not have constipation, but there were times when they had to go to the toilet for a long time. Under normal circumstances, the higher one's realm was, the longer the interval between each bowel movement. This was also the reason why many high-level cultivators didn't need to go to the toilet when they were in seclusion. Actually, this mainly depended on personal habits. In comparison, Wang Ling was more used to doing as he pleased in this regard. If he was in the mood, he would go and squat on the toilet. When he wasn't in the mood, he could directly transfer the inventory in his stomach or bladder. It was directly connected to Lord Ma's space and transferred into his stomach. All he had to do was press his navel, and he could clear it with a single click. But if he chose to squat on the toilet, he could only squat on Lord Ma. After all, Lord Ma had been personally enlightened by Wang Ling, so he was more resilient. Otherwise, if it had been an ordinary toilet, as soon as he released himself, the huge recoil would have made him sit on the toilet and take off like a pilot. Let's wait a little longer. Wang Ming shrugged helplessly. According to the Cultivation Encyclopedia's periodic defecation pattern, the cry of the immortal immortals had obviously been in there for a long time. It was likely that they wouldn't be able to come out for a while. The truth was that when Wang Ling had helped Zhang Shui cross the reincarnation barrier earlier, Wang Ming had actually vaguely heard the noise in the toilet. The sound of the toilet flushing was like a ghost, wave after wave. It looked like there was still some time left, and Wang Ling wasn't idle. Because of Zhang Xian's sacrifice. Wang Ling felt that he had to warn 6th Madam, who had been pulling the strings behind the scenes all along. The other party manipulated ghosts to commit crimes. Such criminal evidence was actually very difficult to obtain. Knowing the 6th Madam's personality, she would immediately cut off all ties with the ghosts once she realized that her affair was about to be exposed. As long as the ghost was destroyed, there would be no evidence. However, under the premise that there was no undocumented evidence, it seemed that a witness was also a way out. But it had to be known that Wang Ling still had to hide his strength in front of strangers. Even though the people close to him knew that he was very strong. But if they went to the police, in the eyes of the police, he would still be just an ordinary foundation establishment high school student. Especially when this was a foreign country, and the person being reported was the young miss of the Stars plucking group, who was rumored to have married into the Jiugong family, and was now the Jiugong family's 6th madam. Thus, no one would believe the words of a foreign high school student, and thus go head-to-head with the Stars plucking group. Thus, to bring down this 6th madam, it was crucial to have concrete evidence. He was sure that the 6th madam definitely had many other ghosts that had been artificially created like Zhang Xian's. They might be guardian spirits or lucky spirits, or in a broad sense, good ghosts. Since the 6th madam had the power to distort the ghosts' memories, then, by distorting their memories, it definitely wouldn't be difficult for the 6th madam to create malicious ghosts with strong resentment in the good ghosts. At that moment, while Mr. Cry of the Immortal Immortals was still in a frenzy, through the king's eye, Wang Ling was quietly watching the 6th madam's movements. In the Jiugong family's 6th madam's mansion, the 6th madam was combing her waterfall-like hair with a mahogany comb in front of a large concubine dressing mirror. As she was combing, her hands suddenly paused, and she pulled out a strand of white hair from the wooden comb. It had just fallen out of her hair. The 6th madam's eyes immediately dimmed. In front of the mirror, she started to talk to herself. Wang Ling could see everything that was happening in the room, as well as the specific sounds. The sixth madam opened her mouth, which seemed to be the sixth madam's original intention, a domineering and feminine voice. The connection with the mountain climbing ghost has actually been broken? Then, she opened her mouth again. It was a sharp and ear-piercing voice that carried with it an evil feeling. That's right. I feel him ascend to heaven. I don't know what happened, but he became a guardian spirit again, and entered the cycle of reincarnation. This sixth madam turned out to be split? Wang Ling frowned as he sensed that something wasn't right. Split was, of course, a joke. It was the same body, but two completely different voices. Combined with the sixth madam's actual situation, Wang Ling guessed that this crazy sixth madam was probably using her body as some kind of container to contain some powerful ghost. The powerful ghost inside her body was acting as something like a central processing unit. It could freely mobilize the ghosts under her control for her use. Did she merge with that ghost called the Hair Devil Spirit? Very quickly, Wang Ling came to a conclusion. That Hair Devil Spirit had a very long range. Wang Ling remembered that their immortal boat had clearly been an hour away from Sun Island. The ghost's hair had invaded the cockpit and directly infiltrated it to control the pilot. Wang Ling calculated based on that range. Even if sixth madam didn't go out, she could still use the ghost inside her body to control everything at home, and this was the best proof. It was the death of Zhang Jiaxiu, which had caused a strand of Jiugong Starlight's hair to rapidly wither and fall, because that strand of hair had originally been tied to Zhang Jiaxiu. As long as any of the ghosts died, sixth madam's hair would fall just like that. So now, Wang Ling suddenly had a bold idea. If he directly stretched out his hand through the mirror in front of sixth madam and directly plucked her bald, what would happen? Chapter 1503. At that moment, Wang Ling peeped at this strange sixth madam through the king's eye. A normal person had 100,000 strands of hair. If all the hair on sixth madam's head was bound to ghosts, that was to say, she commanded at least 100,000 ghost soldiers. While it was easy for Wang Ling to reach out and pull out the hair, he had to consider the seriousness of the consequences. The main thing was that he currently didn't know whether these 100,000 strands of hair were bound to ghosts. But once he pulled them out, would the ghosts break free from sixth madam's control and start a new wave of riots? These were all situations that Wang Ling needed to consider. Even if these ghosts rebelled, it wouldn't be difficult for him to get rid of them. The main thing was that these ghosts weren't easy to control. Once something in a dissociated state was released, Wang Ling had the ability to clear them out. A lot of innocent people would suffer. After considering the above situation, Wang Ling came up with an idea. Since he couldn't guarantee that the ghosts wouldn't disperse and cause a new wave of riots, then he could start pulling them out one by one. First, he would slowly feel things out, and finally decide whether or not to increase his strength based on the actual situation. Sure enough, there's something wrong with these three people. In front of the mirror, sixth madam picked up the strand of white hair that had fallen because of Yang's sacrifice. This strand of white hair had already curled and withered, without the slightest bit of moisture. It was as fragile as a gossamer, and would split and break at the slightest touch. But the fact was that this strand of white hair still had its uses. Demon spirit, you should be able to see through the white hair, right? Sixth madam asked. That's easy. Inside her, the shrill female voice spoke. As the core hub through which sixth madam controlled all the ghosts, the hair demon spirit's ability wasn't limited to using ghosts to complete various tasks from a super long distance, or directly using hair to manipulate people. Turn those people into the marionettes they want. Once the hair was bound to a strand of ghost, it would wither like a wilted flower. As the core, the demon spirit naturally had the ability to investigate the reason for the withering of these hairs. And this kind of ability, Mo Ling also called it flash spirit. She could easily see what had happened before Zhang sacrificed himself and withered. Before she acted, the demon spirit sneered. Do you want to guess who did it? I still suspect that Wang Xiao heir. The sixth madam replied, I heard that there's another female teaching assistant in their entourage. She's someone who hasn't been reported to us before. And this female teaching assistant seems to have an unusual relationship with Wang Xiao'er. Teacher-student love? Interesting. I don't know the specifics, but there's definitely something fishy about this person. Otherwise, Huaxiao Nation wouldn't have suddenly sent more people. The sixth madam calmly analyzed, a true master doesn't need protection. I'm afraid they're worried that this person will be too outstanding and cause some controversy. No matter what, we'll know once we take a look. Mo Ling smiled and said, leave it to me. Just like before, please give me the authority to control your body for a while, all right. The sixth madam nodded. This was the content of the contract. According to the contract, there was a time limit for the demon spirit to possess the body. Therefore, every time she switched souls, the sixth madam did not have the slightest apprehension. Because she was the owner of the contract and had full control over the demon spirit. In about a breath's time, the sixth madam's black pupils turned pink, just like the Death Barbie lipstick that often appeared in TV dramas. After the demon spirit possessed her body, apart from the color of her pupils, there were almost no other changes to her appearance. It was just that the surrounding temperature would suddenly drop and become gloomy and cold. But if someone saw it now, they would definitely feel strange. The sixth madam watched as a thin layer of frost began to form on the dressing mirror in front of her. The demon spirit couldn't help curling her lips. Full of confidence, she stretched out her hand and used her ability to probe the white hair on the table. A pink fluorescent light seeped out from her palm. Like a searchlight, it shone on the white hair for a few seconds. The demon spirit then made a puzzled sound. What did you see? Asked the sixth madam. I didn't see anything. The demon spirit had a big question mark on her head. I just saw a mosaic. How could this be? I find it strange too. I've never encountered this kind of situation before. The demon spirit frowned. I'll try again. After repeated attempts, the result was the same. It was still a mosaic. And the more she observed, the thicker the mosaic became. It was simply to the point of insanity. Can you project the same image on the mirror as before? I want to see it, the sixth madam requested. Of course. The demon spirit smiled indifferently. I have no reason to lie to you, we are one. At that moment, the person and the ghost clearly didn't realize the seriousness of the problem. When the demon spirit projected the mosaic on the mirror, a hand with distinct fingers and clearly visible knuckles actually appeared in the mosaic. What was this? The person and the ghost were covered at the same time. Following that, a kind of fear rushed to their heads, replacing all their thoughts at this moment. You can't run away. Wang Ling mused in his heart. With just one hand, the tremendous spiritual pressure suddenly dropped, causing the sixth madam's body to sink in. Except for her head, every inch of her body was directly stuffed into the ground. That feeling couldn't be described in words. The sixth madam and the demon spirit in her body almost exploded in an instant. What the hell was going on? Why had a hand suddenly popped out of the mirror? Furthermore, it had such tremendous power. Senior should also be a ghost, right? The demon spirit asked tentatively, may I know how I have offended Senior? She was trying to sound him out. Faced with this hand that had suddenly popped out of the mirror, both she and the sixth madam were scared out of their wits. A ghost? Wang Ling was speechless. This demon spirit didn't seem very smart. But it didn't matter, a misunderstanding was a misunderstanding. In any case, there was no need for him to explain everything. He didn't stand on ceremony as he directly attacked the trapped sixth madam. Just as he was hesitating whether to start with the hair at the hairline or the top of her head, after making the decision, Wang Ling pinched a strand of hair at the top of her head and gave it a violent tug. Ah! The sixth madam and the demon spirit instantly screamed at the same time. They felt as if their scalps had been electrified, and there was an intense burning sensation. The moment the hair was pulled out, it felt as if even their scalps were going to be ripped off. The demon spirit was extremely terrified. This ghost was too aloof. Not only was it powerful, it hadn't spoken the entire time. It actually wanted to pull out the hair as soon as it started. Bastard. This hurts. The demon spirit roared in its heart. On the other side, Wang Ling realized that after he had pulled out the hair, it seemed that a ghost had really been released and was wandering around the room. So he grabbed the ghost in passing. Poochie. He used 2 fingers to crush the ghost that was released. Green blood that ordinary cultivators wouldn't be able to detect sprayed out in the 6 madam's room like a meatball. This was the blood of a ghost. Because the 6th madam and the demon spirit had one body, she could also see this blood. When the green blood sprayed out, it splashed all over the 6th madam's body and face. Like a scene from a horror movie, the 6th madam was so frightened that she trembled. "Senior, please spare us, Senior." The woman and the ghost were so frightened that they started to cry. But Wang Ling was ruthless and didn't give them any chance at all as he started to pull out the second hair. With each hair he pulled out, he crushed a ghost that had been released. It was extremely steady. The poor 6th madam's scalp went numb as Wang Ling pulled out the hair. The intense burning sensation and the pain of peeling off her skin occurred every time he pulled. But pulling them out one by one was really too slow. Wang Ling was in the midst of his joy. But he heard Wang Ming's urging voice on the other side. He said that Immortal Harmony had finished using the toilet. "Ah. I'm not done yet." Wang Ling frowned slightly. Looking at the 2 thumbnail-sized bald spots on the top of the 6th madam's head, he felt pity in his heart. But now, it seemed that he could only withdraw his ruthless iron hand for the time being. Just as he was about to withdraw his hand from the mirror, Wang Ling suddenly realized that the 6th madam and the demon spirit seemed to already regard him as a ghost. Then perhaps it would be better for him to leave his name as a deterrent. Thus, Wang Ling placed his hand directly on the thin layer of frost on the vanity mirror. He left his name, Young Wave. These 2 simple words gave the 6th madam and the demon spirit a great shock and a great F***K. What F*** King Young Wave? Chapter 1504. After Wang Ling withdrew his hand, Madame 6th and the devil spirit in her body didn't return to their senses for a long time. The pink pupils dissipated and turned back into the black eyes of the 6th madam. Although her soul had switched back, her body still couldn't stop trembling. A ghost named Young Wave? Where did this almighty come from? Why did he have such a powerful ability? The 6th madam and Mo Ling had been plotting on Sun Island for many years and thought that they had everything under control. However, he didn't expect that he would kick an iron plate at this time. Has there ever been a ghost named Ho Lang on Sun Island? The 6th madam's face was pale with fright, and her lips were purple. The top of her head burned with pain. The burning sensation on the bald spot was ridiculously strong. It felt as if there were 100,000 Pikachu dancing on it with 100,000 volts at the same time. I have never heard of it. Mo Ling also had a lingering fear. She and Jiugong Xinghui had been planning for many years. In order to seize the main manual of the ghost record, she entered the Jiugong family. The main book of the ghost record recorded the top-notch ghosts that the Jiugong family had subdued over the years all over the world. The strength of the demon spirit would also reach an unimaginable peak. Unexpectedly, such a powerful ghost had appeared. The 2 of them were momentarily thrown into disarray. What do we do now? 9 Palaces Star Radiance had originally thought that he was the one with the strategy. And Wang Ling's intervention had instantly thrown her into a panic. Don't worry, there's still room for maneuver. The demon spirit refused to give up. She felt that there might be a way to turn the situation around. That ghost called Young Wave is indeed very powerful. However, he also made a mistake. That is, he chose to stop just now. The 2 fingernail-sized bald spots on the top of our heads actually caused us very little damage. If we can obtain the main book of the ghost register and absorb all the ghosts in the main book, we will be able to obtain the ghost register. He might not be our match. You mean? Jiugong Xinghui frowned. The demonic spirit sighed. There's no other way. Although it's very risky, we can only act in advance in the current situation. As long as I can absorb the entire main volume of the ghost register, I might even be able to devour that ghost called Junior Wave together with it. Can it be swallowed? Jiao Gongxing Hui's eyes instantly lit up. Sure. The demon spirit was brimming with confidence. If it's also devoured by us, then forget about this Sun Island. At that time, my hair will be able to permeate the entire world and even outer space, and this will also be able to realize the grand plan of controlling the world. I see. Jiao Gongxing Hui nodded lightly. As the hair demon spirit said, their actions were indeed risky. All these years, she had been in Jiao Gong's house, constantly searching for a way to enter the underground seal. After so many years of exploration, Jiao Gongxing Hui believed that he had basically grasped the method to open the underground sealed passage, and there was a 96% chance of success. To be on the safe side, they set the grand plan for 3 months later. But Wang Ling's appearance had been so sudden that they had no choice but to bring forward their plan. It was risky, but it was also a helpless move. The ghost known as Junior Wave was a huge threat. Who knew when the enemy would choose to make a move against them? How about it? Have you thought it through? At this time, the demon spirit's shrill voice sounded in his mind. She was still encouraging the 9 Palace Starlight. After a long silence, Jiao Gongxing Hui finally nodded and said, I understand. Because Immortal Harmony was next to him, it was actually a little risky for Wang Ling to continue to pull out his hair. He had no choice but to stop for the time being. In any case, the purpose of the warning had been achieved. It was just to let these 2 people live a little longer. No matter what his plan was, Wang Ling felt that it would be ineffective. After all, the gap in strength was very obvious. Sorry, everyone, I stored a little too much. I've kept you waiting. Immortal Harmony was a little embarrassed. In fact, he hadn't completely released his hair yet, and there was still some left in his stomach. But because of time constraints, Immortal Harmony realized that he couldn't continue to delay like this. Otherwise, he would miss the best time to observe the sunrise. Thus, Immortal Harmony used the 3rd major function of the anus in addition to defecation and urination on the toilet, the feces-breaking spell, to interrupt his detoxification work. It looked like a tasteful piece of writing. But in fact, it wasn't the author who was using the water. Instead, it was for the benefit of constipated readers. It could produce the desire to defecate. Thus, it could detoxify and nourish one's skin. After more than an hour, Wang Ling and the others finally arrived at the Sunrise Observatory on Heavenly Stem Mountain. The Jiogong family had made arrangements in advance to reserve the entire observatory. It was the best time and the best place, and there would be no outsiders to disturb them. Everyone, please enjoy quietly. I'll go prepare breakfast. After taking everyone to the designated location, Immortal Harmony very consciously retreated. He went to a small safe house on the observatory to prepare breakfast. He had already put all the ingredients into his storage bag. Choosing this time to prepare breakfast was in fact to leave enough space for the 4 young people. Although Immortal Harmony had a problem with his sexual orientation, he was also an experienced person. He respected everyone's love, and hoped that everyone could obtain the most beautiful love. At that moment, on Heavenly Stem Mountain, the sun had already risen, peeking out little by little from the distant horizon. Wang Ling sensed that all things had awakened from silence and that dawn had arrived after the darkness. The serenity in his heart suddenly made him feel incomparably comfortable. Lotus Sun stood next to Wang Ling and also looked ahead. The 2 of them seemed very close, but also very far away. Wang Ming wanted to go up and tease Wang Ling, but this scene was so beautiful that this usually noisy person actually quietened down at that moment. Zhai Yin smiled slightly and reached out to tug on Wang Ming's sleeve. Then, the 2 of them stood on the other side, leaving the best angle for Wang Ling and Lotus Sun to observe the sunrise. The sun, which had left the horizon, was bright red. It slowly moved upward, passing through the clouds and mist in the distance, like a beautiful agate plate, illuminating everything in a brilliant light. Wang Ling. Lotus Sun opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something to Wang Ling. Wang Ling turned his face slightly to look at Lotus Sun and gently made a shushing gesture. The two of them were too close to each other. That familiar aura made Lotus Sun's face burn uncontrollably. Do you want to see it too? Wang Ling opened his mouth. Lotus Sun thought he was talking to her, but at that moment, Wang Ling summoned Jinka. It was placed on the railing of the observatory at the top of the mountain. She thought she was disturbing Wang Ling, and the thought of retreating rose in her heart. Jinka suddenly poked his head out and stuck his hands between them, holding them on either side. At that moment, Wang Ling was holding Jinka's hand, and Jinka was holding Lotus Sun's. There were no unnecessary words. Only at this moment, the most beautiful sunrise was peaceful. A cool breeze accompanied by the red glow in the distance dyed the faces of the young man and girl crimson. Chapter 1505. The sunrise on Heavenly Stem Mountain was too beautiful to behold. Everything was born amidst the peace and tranquility, which made one feel relaxed and happy. Lotus Sun looked at him out of the corner of her eye. Lotus Sun looked at Wang Ling out of the corner of her eye. Although she wasn't directly holding the youngster's hand, she felt a sense of peace and great satisfaction that she had never felt before. It was also at that moment that she suddenly realized that her desire was actually lower than she had imagined. Even if it was just holding hands, she looked forward to the day when this blockhead youngster would take the initiative to hold her hand. That day might not be too soon, but she thought it shouldn't be too far away either. Monk Jean Dang had said that as long as she had enough time and patience, it would always be possible. She had a lot of time, a lot of patience, and a love that was far beyond the youngster's imagination. 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, looking at the brilliant morning glow in front of her, the girl believed that one day her heart would be able to melt all the frozen hearts like the boundless sunlight piercing through the clouds in front of her. In the warm light of the rising sun in the east, Immortal Harmony laid out a thick and soft picnic table mat on the sunrise observation spot on the top of Heavenly Stem Mountain. As the Jilgong family's #1 foreign affairs officer, Immortal Harmony was already very skilled at receiving guests. Not only was he attentive, he also did things with a sense of propriety and ceremony. Dressed in a tuxedo suit, he looked like a dashing black deacon as he concentrated on placing the roast meat in the wooden hut on a tray. At that moment, Immortal Harmony was holding a crystal knife in his white gloves as he used an extremely precise operation to evenly cut thin slices of meat and put them on a gorgeous dinner plate. "This meat doesn't look like it's fully cooked?" Jai Yin asked. "Teacher Yuji, you have a good eye. This is superior dragon pork. I only roasted it to 90% done, and I'll need to borrow the sun's light to cook the remaining 10%. Immortal Harmony smiled slightly. Then, he cracked a few raw eggs onto the meat slices on the dinner plate. At some point, he had taken out 2 huge spotlights to focus the light of the sunrise on the dinner plate. The egg white, the egg liquid, and the meat slices were roasted little by little, giving off a hot aroma. What a special method. Jai Yin had always been very interested in cooking. Feeling that she had mastered it, she looked at Wang Ming. "I'll cook for you when we get back, okay? Murdering one's husband is a serious crime," Wang Ming said, shivering. Jai Yin rolled his eyes at Wang Ming. "You don't believe me, I'm very good now. They would try it themselves first. I'll only let you eat it after I'm sure it's safe." "Factor? That's not necessary. Why do you have to do this to yourself?" During breakfast, the two of them bickered. On the side, Lotus Sun couldn't help snickering. Sometimes she thought about it. Such a small quarrel was also a small happiness. Very romantic. And such a small happiness. Actually, she also wanted to have. This was the first time Wang Ling had seen this kind of cooking technique, and he couldn't help but want to taste it. Just as he was about to pick up his chopsticks, he saw Immortal Harmony suddenly stretch out a hand. "Student Wang, please wait. The most important thing to eat this dish is the chili sauce." Chili sauce? At this time, everyone's attention was focused on the cry of the immortals. That's right. The most important thing to eat this dish is this bottle of chili sauce. The Cry of the Immortals took out a whole bottle of the limited edition product from its storage bag. Oh. I know this. Lao Gan Goose Chili Sauce. This is a limited edition product. Jai Yin recognized the very expensive chili sauce in the crystal packaging at one glance. It said that the production process for this limited edition chili sauce is very complicated, and the chili peppers inside are all carefully selected small chili peppers. Although these small chili peppers are small, they are actually heavier than ordinary chili peppers because they are of high quality. So before selecting them, a large number of chili peppers are tied to a flying car. Then, the huge centrifugal force generated by the flying car on the racing track, especially when it turns a corner, is used to filter out these high-quality little chili peppers from a special filter at high speed. Everyone, this was the first time Wang Ling had heard of such a strange method of separating chili peppers, and he was stunned and marveled at why there were always people in modern society who had so much free time. That's right. After hearing Jai Yin's explanation, the Cry of the Immortals nodded. I never thought that teacher Yuji would actually know so much. Amazing. Not really, it's just some trivial knowledge. Jai Yin was overjoyed at the compliment. She had always been interested in cooking, and it wasn't just a day or two ago. Otherwise, she wouldn't have learned from Mother Wan back then. Wang Ming actually still had lingering fears after his experience with the dragon pork chop. He felt that he would have to solve this problem sooner or later, otherwise, it would be a big problem sooner or later. Wang Ming pondered this in his heart as he watched the Cry of the Immortals pour a spoonful of chili sauce onto his plate. By the way, why is this chili sauce called Lao Gan Goose? At that moment, he asked a question. Because all the original chili peppers were screened by a penguin that had a certain sensitivity to chili peppers, the Cry of the Immortals said. Because this penguin was deceived, and after its young heart suffered a blow, it suddenly gained the ability to distinguish between chili peppers. It was able to distinguish between real and fake chili peppers based on their quality. Authentic small chili peppers have a scientific name, Old Country Mother small chili peppers. Ordinary small chili peppers of inferior quality have a scientific name, Old Country Mother small chili peppers. And this penguin's ability is to clearly distinguish whether a small chili pepper is an Old Country Mother or a Old Country Mother. Finally, the Old Country Mother small chili peppers that have been selected will be selected again according to the steps mentioned earlier. The best of the selections will be made into a limited edition. Those that aren't selected will be made into ordinary Lao Gan Goose chili sauce. Interesting, Wang Ming's lips curled up. He picked up his plate and took a bite of Cry of the Immortals' special dish with his chopsticks. Then, he felt a surge of heat in his body, and he actually felt comfortable all over. It tasted pretty good. His eyes lit up. Wang Ling chewed quietly, his face also red. It was true that delicious food could inspire a person to feel happy. Although Wang Ling's face was expressionless, it wasn't hard to tell from his expression that he was feeling happy at that moment. This was the first time Wang Ming and Lotus Sun had seen Wang Ling react like this to anything other than crispy noodle snacks. It looked like this dish prepared by Cry of the Immortals had indeed struck a chord. It's great that everyone is satisfied, it's my honor. Cry of the Immortals spoke in fluent Chinese with a faint smile on his face. By the way, everyone, I just received news from Jiudaohe High School. Because of the exchange program, you will be able to experience life at this high school for the next week. So, when in Rome, do as the Romans do, and give yourselves local names. Local names? Surprisingly, Wang Ling seemed to have been prepared for this. He didn't even think about it. Without hesitation, he directly wrote his name in the air on the ground. Wang Holang. Chapter 1506. Wang Holang didn't sound like a native name of Sun Island at all. But after thinking it over carefully, Cry of Immortals felt that it was actually very flavorful. Because you didn't necessarily have to call someone by their full name. As long as you removed the surname and added another word, you would immediately get the flavor. For example, Holang San, Holang Chan, and so on. Holang-san, I think it's a good name, and it's very catchy. Cry of Immortals sighed. What about the rest of you? Rong-chan, Xiao-er-chan. Everyone. Judao High School was founded by the Jogong family, and was very well known on Sun Island. It enrolled students from all walks of life, and wasn't specifically aimed at aristocrats. Lotus Sun had come to this exchange activity to help Jogong Ryoko. But in fact, it was a rare opportunity for cultivators of the same age in the country to clear their names. Because of different cultural environments and educational backgrounds, the quality of cultivators in different countries was in fact different. As a famous school on Sun Island, Judao High School students were mostly at the late foundation establishment stage. Some had even broken through to the golden core stage in high school. This resulted in a xenophobic phenomenon. The students of Judeo would have a sense of superiority when facing foreign students. Therefore, Cry of Immortals had always been worried that there would be some school violence during the exchange activity. The three people from number 60 high school were all distinguished guests of the Jogong family, and were friends whom Jogong Ryoko had mentioned to him in advance. Because of this, Cry of Immortals had been extremely cautious about the three of them entering the school. Even the idea of local names had been a clever idea on Cry of Immortals' part. He felt that if the three of them had local names, it might be easier for the children at school to accept them. I have a question. At the top of the mountain, Cry of Immortals took a sip of hot tea and looked at Lotus Sun and the others. What would you like to ask, Mr. Cry of Immortals? To Cry of Immortals' surprise, Lotus Sun actually spoke directly to him in the local language of Sun Island. It didn't sound lame at all, nor did it carry any accent. It was very authentic. Rong-chan actually knows our Sun Island language? Cry of Immortals was astonished. It's not that hard to learn. Lotus Sun smiled. I was once appointed by my clan to study here. After all, just the girl's visa alone had the entry stamps of hundreds of countries, and Lotus Sun's mastery of languages was actually quite abundant. She can speak no less than dozens of different languages. Rong-chan is amazing, Luminous Immortal Harmony smiled bitterly in his heart. He finally knew why Ryoko Kyuya had always regarded the young lady in front of him as an opponent. Actually, what I am asking is not an important question. I just want to ask the three of you, are you nervous? At this time, Luminous Immortal Harmony continued. Wang Ling, on the other side, after exchanging looks, Lotus Sun, Wang Ming and Jai Yin couldn't help wanting to laugh. Why should I be nervous? Lotus Sun said with a smile on her face. Putting aside the fact that Lotus Sun now had Mysterious C's power, even if Mysterious C hadn't fused with the Heavenly Tao magic cube, she still had enough confidence to face everything that was about to happen. It was just cultivation. Who wasn't a genius boy or girl? As for Wang Ling, at this thought, Lotus Sun couldn't help looking at him. The youngster's tranquil face was as calm as an ancient well, as if he didn't care about the people in 9 Paths High at all. It was very obvious. The word genius could no longer describe the youngster in front of her. Classmate Wang Ling was forever a god. 9 Paths High. Wang Ling, Lotus Sun and Wang Ming, who had gone by the alias Wang Shower. Monk Golden Lamp quickly communicated with the headmaster of 9 Paths High about their enrollment as exchange students, and they quickly entered 9 Paths High's temporary student registry. This meant that Wang Ling and the other two had already obtained temporary student status at 9 Paths High. They had become a member of the school. The news spread very quickly. 9 Paths High and the student union also attached great importance to this matter. I never thought that what would come would still come. That terrible woman back then. In the office of 9 Paths High and the student union, a very distinctive golden-haired youngster cupped his chin in his hands. He sat in the president's seat with a solemn expression. His name was Akano Usagi, and people gave him the nickname, President Usagi. Familiar people would also directly call him Usagi. It wasn't that he had deliberately dyed his hair blonde, but that it was natural because of the attribute of his spirit root. Many years ago, Akano Usagi had actually met Lotus Sun face to face. At that time, he had been beaten by Lotus Sun in every aspect, He had been beaten black and blue. But Akano Usagi had never expected that the opportunity to wash away his shame would actually come right in front of him. He saw the information that the headmaster's office had sent to the student union's database, and after checking Lotus-san's information, he couldn't help feeling relieved. Hee. Lotus-san, you didn't expect this, did you? I'm already an early Golden Core expert. You're actually at the foundation establishment stage. What are you going to use to fight me? The excitement in Akano Usagi's heart was self-evident. Lu's wish for so many years is finally going to come true. At that moment, a short-haired girl with freckles on her face said, "By the way, doesn't Lu find it strange?" Her nickname was Sparrow, and she was the vice president of the student union, as well as someone who was closer to Akano Usagi. What's strange about it? Yoshiko has already been gone for so long. Why did these people from number 60 high choose this time to come? Sparrow said, the Kugong family and Huagua Water Curtain Group are competitors, and our Judao was built by the Kugong family. They're clearly competitors, but Rome-chan actually chose this time to come. I feel like there's a conspiracy behind all this. You're thinking too much. They're all at the foundation establishment stage, how could they have such big thoughts? Akano Usagi frowned. That was what he said, but after listening to Sparrow's analysis, he felt that it made some sense. After the impromptu meeting about the exchange students was over, Akano Usagi thought of his aunt in the Kugong family. She was the favored sixth wife of the Kugong family, Starlight Kugong. He called her. Akano Usagi's attitude was unusually humble. Hello, Aunt, yes, I'm Chives, no. I wasn't cut today. And is joking again. It's like this, Aunt, I have 3 exchange students on my side that you might be interested in. Yes, it's Lotus-san, and 2 others with the surname Wang. One is called Wang Shower, and the other is called Wang Holang. On the other end of the line, Starlight Kugong's expression instantly darkened, and his voice instantly sank. Lu, say that again. Chapter 1507. Akano Usagi didn't expect that his aunt, who had always been cold and calm, would have such a big reaction to the name, Queen Rashiro. He didn't know if it was an illusion. He could even sense the fear and uneasiness in his aunt's voice. That shouldn't be the case, these were just students from number 60 high school in Huashio Nation. He was just a weak foundation establishment stage rookie. How could Aunt be afraid of these foundation establishment cultivators? The name, Aquino, was a name that shook the entire Sun Island, and the Star Takers, under the Aquino family was an even more powerful and terrifying force on the island. Therefore, Akano Kiyoshi Sasaki felt that he was thinking too much. His aunt was so awesome that there was no need for him to be afraid of her. If someone had to be afraid, it should be others who were afraid of his aunt. After a moment of silence, Akano Kiyoshi Sasaki heard Kurigaku's words. You have to take good care of these people, understand? 9 Palace Star Hui said. Got it, Auntie. Same old rules, sunken well, right? What well? It's literally what it means, Jiogong Xing Hui explained. Do you really want me to take good care of them? Leek Sasaki was a little displeased. Given the current situation, even the slightest movement would alert the other party. Hoshi Kuga knew Chikisaki's temper. Back then, between Chikisaki and Miss Sun, there was a conflict. Actually, there was a grudge between them. It was very likely that he would lose control of his impulse and do something stupid. That kind of behavior was no different from alerting the enemy. Moreover, he couldn't face it head-on right now. This Wang Lang was the ghost called Back Lang. As such, Jiogong Xing Hui decided to find an opportunity to personally investigate. Could it be a human or a ghost? Their auras were completely different. She had the hair demon spirit in her body, so she could easily distinguish the difference between humans and ghosts. I know the grudge between you and Miss Sun, but they are still guests of our Jiogong family. My foundation in the Jiogong family is not stable yet. If you make a move, won't you make things difficult for me as your aunt? Jiogong Xing Hui explained earnestly, you won't lose out if you listen to Ant. Sometimes, what you see is only the second level, and you think that I'm only on the first level, but in reality, I'm on the 5th level. These words sounded like a 1,000-layer cake. Akano Usagi was stunned immediately, and soon scratched his golden hair foolishly. And is knowledgeable, you are right. Don't worry, Aunt, I won't act rashly. Very good. Jiogong Xinghui nodded in satisfaction. Auntie will reward you later. Ah. Is it that reward? You miss Asian, don't you? Jiogong Xinghui said calmly, don't worry, I'll make her crawl out of the TV tonight to find you. Really? Aunt. It's true. Also, you can do whatever you want. The call was cut off, and Jiogong Xinghui frowned. She was using a high-quality hair growth potion to drip on the bald spot on the top of her head. This expensive hair growth potion was sold by the drop. A drop was priced at 100,000 yuan, and it belonged to the type that had immediate effects. It could make hair grow out in an instant. 9 Palace Star Brilliance filled a large bottle, wrapped it in a black envelope, and dripped dozens of drops in a row. The bald spot was still empty, without a single strand of hair. Serious injury effect? It was only then that she realized that the bald part of her body could not grow back. Even pulling out hair had a serious injury effect. It was ridiculous. It seems that it's impossible to recover. Jiogong Xinghui sighed. She coiled her hair up again, made a beautiful bun, and then fixed it with a few beautiful jade hairpins. This was the only way to naturally block the bald spot on the top of her head without looking too fake. After all, if she wore a wig, there was a risk of it being blown off by the wind. In order to prevent the ghost called Holang from making another move, Jiogong Xinghui had moved all the smooth objects with the mirror refraction effect out of the room. Mirrors, all kinds of cosmetic bottles, glass lamps, and so on. Do you think that Holang is related to the ghost called Holang? At this time, the demon spirit's voice sounded in Jiogong Xinghui's mind. It's just my sixth sense at the moment. Jiogong Xinghui frowned. I actually don't believe that there can be such a coincidence in the world. But whether it's true or not, we'll know once we take a look. If he's a ghost, I can tell at a glance. Mo Ling said confidently. For safety's sake, just take a look from a distance. At this moment, Jiogong Xinghui's eyes dimmed. A woman's sixth sense had always been a terrifying existence. She hoped that this was just a coincidence. If that Wang Lang was a ghost, then it would be too terrifying. Should we find someone to test it first? You mean Jiu Dao and the girl inside? Jiogong Xinghui thought for a while and nodded, all right. The girl in the mouth of one person and one ghost was actually a girl who was extremely autistic because of school violence. She wasn't a complete ghost yet. But in Mo Ling's view, this girl was an extremely talented existence. She had the potential to develop into a top-grade ghost in the future. The name Holang was obviously changed later. Jiogong Xinghui judged that this should be Ming of Brilliance Harmony's idea. The xenophobia in Jiu Dao was very serious. Changing her name and taking a slightly more local title might make it easier for her to quickly integrate into the school life. No matter what the other party's background was. No matter whether the other party planned to live in the internal residence arranged by the Jiogong family. Or in the student dormitories of Jiu Dao and high school. As long as they were on this Sun Island, in Jiogong Xinghui's view, this group of people were like pieces of meat in a 1,000-layer cake. Lotus Sun was fine. Wang Holang was fine. No matter what floor he was on, he wouldn't be able to escape. The people from number 60 high were distinguished guests from afar. According to Jiu Dao's rules, they should have held a special welcoming ceremony. Jiu Dao's student union was responsible for this welcoming ceremony. Akano Shiki had planned to take advantage of this welcoming ceremony to meet Lotus Sunday. But what he never expected was that this eldest Miss Sun, who had always liked to stand out, would actually take the initiative to ask Jiu Dao and high school's higher-ups to simplify the ceremony. He felt that Lotus Sun seemed to have changed a little. For some reason, she had started to keep a low profile. In fact, this was a choice he had made entirely out of consideration for himself. A new school, a new environment, and all kinds of new classmates. Lotus Sun felt that it would probably be hard for him to accept it for a while. It was silent in the car on the way to Jiudao and high school. Wang Ming and Lotus Sun were communicating via text message. "I never thought that Miss Roan would actually choose to do this," Wang Ming texted. "If it's done simply, classmate Wang Ling might feel a little more comfortable. It's fine if you listen to me. Also, I've recently realized that there are benefits to being low-key," Lotus Sun replied with a smile. Also, she realized, it seemed that she liked Wang Ling more than she had imagined. Chapter 1508. The autistic girl who Jiu Gong Xinghuai and Devil Spirit regarded as a ghost, potential stalk. It was Jiudaohua High School's current student, Hinoko Dai. Sun Island wasn't very big, and it was impossible to gather 100,000 ghost soldiers on the island by relying on ordinary methods to capture ghosts. Hence, after Jiudao Gong Xinghuai and Devil Spirit worked together, she would also look for a lot of human, potential stalks, like this. A lot of people might have been forced by their environment, or because of their family or work, after being denied love, ostracized, and subjected to all kinds of mental violence, they gradually developed an antisocial personality. This type of personality was exactly what Jiudao Gong Xinghuai and Devil Spirit needed. Because humans with this type of personality tended to be more easily corrupted. And because of their strong resentment, they would develop a strong, vengeful mentality after death. But there were a variety of factors that led to the formation of ghosts, and strong resentment didn't necessarily mean that one could become a ghost. Strong resentment would only cause a person's soul to stay in the human world for a little longer after death. It was precisely because of this that Jiudao Gong Xinghuai and Devil Spirit had formulated the artificial ghost plan. They also had this ability. They could turn these chosen children into the ghosts they wanted. Then, they would be driven by them. There were two ways to transform them. One was to wait for these potential stalks to die before harvesting them. The other method was to forcibly turn them into ghosts while they were still in human form. In comparison, the ghosts formed by the second method weren't as strong as the first. But now, in order to test Wang Ling, Jiudao Gong Xinghuai felt that it was necessary. The potential stalks she was cultivating were all over Sun Island. And it wasn't just Hinoko. "Are you ready?" At that moment, Jiudao Gong Xinghuai closed her eyes. "Everything is ready." "Good. Get on." After skillfully switching bodies, Jiudao Gong Xinghuai returned control of her body to Devil Spirit. His mysterious pupils were gradually dyed pink. Among Jiudao Gong Xinghuai's coiled hair, one strand seemed to be endowed with life as it darted into the sky, forcibly turning into a ghost. She could also use Devil Spirit's ultra-long range to achieve remote control. At 10:00 on Tuesday, December 15th, Wang Ling and the others officially entered Class S of Jiudao He High School. This was the internal class division system of 9 Dao High School, which was similar to number 60 High's normal and elite classes, and was also known as the top student classes. Its specialty was that it had a small number of students, but the quality of the students was very high. Even the teachers were specially hired. Apart from the few students in Class S, he wouldn't spare any attention to teach the other classes. This was different from number 60 high school. For example, although Old Pan was the head teacher of the elite class, she also taught the children of the other classes. The nature of class classification was to better integrate students of different stages. It was not for the sake of special treatment or differentiation. If students of the same level went to class together and took exams together, the pressure wouldn't be as great. In a relaxed environment, students could better absorb knowledge. It was as if the 9th Dao High School was giving preferential treatment to a group of noble students. Although there weren't many people, Wang Ling still felt uncomfortable. Wang Ling realized that at some point, he had already become accustomed to number 60 High's teachings. Most importantly, it was his recognition of Headmaster Chen's educational philosophy. In Wang Ling's view, 9 paths, and this sort of classroom grading system where strength reigned supreme, weren't desirable, and this sort of environment was also the most prone to school violence. In order to let the new students adapt to the school environment as soon as possible. Thanks to Golden Lamp's communication, 9 Dao he arranged the same seats for Wang Ling as for number 60 high school. The second last row by the window. Bored to death, Wang Ling listened to 9 Dao and the high school cultivation lecture. This class was about the topic of spiritual power output. This definitely wasn't new knowledge to Wang Ling. He didn't know if Jiudao had arranged this course on purpose, but during the class segment, everyone was given an energy ball that could measure the output of spiritual power. Including Wang Ling and the others, there were a total of 15 students. When the energy balls were sent to everyone's hands, almost immediately, the 9 Dao students and the local students in the class turned their gazes to the three of them. Ho Lang sang, I heard that you're all very outstanding students at number 60 high school. Sitting in front of Wang Ling was a student with an elitist face. He was thin and liked to poke his glasses with his middle finger at every turn. He turned his head to look at Wang Ling, the corners of his lips curling up slightly. Wearing 9 Dao he's custom-made suit, he exuded an aristocratic aura. Compared with number 60 high school's blue essence sportswear, he seemed especially gorgeous. In Wang Ling's eyes, the boy in front of him was like a gorgeous, noble peacock with an insufferably arrogant attitude. Wang Ling carefully held the energy ball. It was like a hot potato in his hands, and he didn't know what to do. If he accidentally crushed it and it exploded, he would probably have to pay for it, right? He also had to leave some money for Anwan to buy a gift, but if he wasn't careful and increased the output, it might also explode on the spot, and this energy ball was made of a special kind of crystal. If it exploded here, the crystal fragments that flew out would hurt innocent people. Thus, Wang Ling stared at the energy ball in his hand, feeling conflicted. At that moment, Peacock Man in front of him smiled again. Ho Lang sang, you look very nervous. Wang Ling, don't be so nervous. Just treat this place as if it's your own home. Ah, that's right, I forgot, after talking for so long, do you not understand our native language at all? Peacock Man sounded like he was comforting Wang Ling, but he was actually being sarcastic. He was about to switch to Mandarin to communicate with Wang Ling. On the side, Lotus Sun couldn't take it anymore. I didn't expect Sun Island's local education to be at this level. What a disappointment. It was very standard Sun Island language. This immediately attracted the attention of everyone in Class S. What do you mean? Peacock Man was unconvinced, and was astonished by Lotus Sun's fluent Mandarin. Classmate Wang Ling, oh, no, Ho Lang sang. He's actually always been stronger than me, Lotus Sun continued. But I heard that Ho Lang sang is just a mascot in your school. Peacock Man spread his hands and smiled at Lotus Sunday. You should know that anyone in Class S can use their own spirit power to crush this energy ball in front of you. Is that so? Lotus Sun smiled, but there was a dagger hidden behind her smile. Then, I can do it alone. As she said this, she stretched out her hand and lightly tapped the energy ball in front of the table. Bzzzt. An azure blue ripple spread out from her fingertips. Bang 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 bang, there was the sound of glass shattering in Class S. The local students of 9 Paths and high school were all dumbfounded. They had never imagined that the young girl's strength would actually be so powerful, to be able to shatter all the energy balls with just her own strength. Wang Ming folded his arms and watched the show alone at the back. He was actually a little touched. Nowadays, there weren't many girls who could be so considerate. P.S. For more news, follow the official account, Lord Ku Xianjun. Chapter 1509. The average strength of Jiudao and Class S was peak late foundation establishment. Excluding Wang Ling's group of 3 of the 12 students had already reached the Golden Core stage in Grade 1. This overall level of combat strength was indeed above number 60 highs. Of course, this was in fact based on the standard of Wang Ling, Lotus Sun, Jin Yuan, Gu Xuanji, Fang Xing, Wang Zhen, Lu Qingyi, and the other core members of Battle's sect. If the core members of Battle's sect who had snuck into number 60 high were included, any grade 1 class in number 60 high would probably be ranked first in the world. Even if the combat strength of all the high schools in the world circle the Earth 3 times, they still might not be able to match up to 1/1,000,000th of number 60 high's elite class. It sounded a little exaggerated. But it was the truth. Wang Ling himself hadn't expected Lotus Sun to choose this moment to make a move when he was so conflicted. Although her words seemed to provoke hatred, but they had indeed solved his urgent problem. In the first row of the classroom, Akano Leek Saki looked at the energy ball fragments in his hand, unable to calm down for a long time. It was very obvious that an ordinary Foundation establishment cultivator wouldn't have been able to shatter the energy ball fragments in his hand. It was very clear that an ordinary Foundation establishment cultivator wouldn't have been able to shatter an entire class's energy ball with just the fluctuations of spirit power she had released. Even Leek Saki himself couldn't have done this. Sure enough, this terrifying woman was still as difficult to deal with as she had been back then. As for the late Foundation establishment stage, shown on the student records, it was probably also a facade. He judged that Lotus Sun's combat strength was at the late Golden Core stage at the very least. A grade 1 student. She was actually at the late Golden Core stage. Leek Saki was both afraid and terrified. Fortunately, he had listened to his aunt's words and hadn't directly made a move on this eldest Mississippi. This woman was indeed terrifying. He had thought that after so many years of hard work and hard cultivation, he would finally be able to break away from this terrifying woman. But it turned out that no matter how hard he tried, he still couldn't catch up to her. In fact, putting aside her combat strength, Lotus Sun's combat strength wasn't inferior to Leek Saki's at all. Although the girl's strength was still at the peak late Foundation establishment stage, this was actually the result of her forcefully suppressing her realm with many purification reagents. If a cultivator wanted to raise their realm, the concentration of their spirit root had to reach a certain level before they could break through. The so-called washing reagent was, in fact, a kind of diluent of high concentration. It could develop a person's potential to the greatest extent. Advancing when one's potential was developed to the extreme would allow one to go further in the future. So according to the normal rate of cultivation, she would have broken through to the Golden Core stage long ago. Therefore, from the very beginning, the girl did not take the 9 paths and his group of arrogant and conceited people seriously. Her gaze remained cautious and cautious. He was afraid that these people would deliberately pick on Wang Ling. It wasn't because he was afraid of Wang Ling, he was mainly worried that those troublemakers might be in life-threatening danger. It was so easy to find fault with him. If he lost his life while searching, wouldn't that be a huge loss? At lunchtime, Wang Ling and the others arrived at Judeo's canteen. Just like the classrooms, Judeo's cafeteria also adopted a grading system. And the class division is clear. The lowest class was Class D. The dining area was divided into cold wooden seats that looked a little hard. Class C's treatment was slightly better. There was even a layer of soft silicone cushion on the wooden seats. Class B's leather chair, Class A's boss chair. Of course, the one with the best treatment was still Class S's automatic massage sofa. Wang Ling was secretly astonished at this distinction. It was a good thing that Lotus Sun was at the forefront. At that moment, Wang Ling felt that the girl was like a Valkyrie protecting her children, standing at the forefront with an astonishing aura. For a moment, a lot of people didn't dare approach her. Wang Ming and Wang Ling both noticed. This seemed to be another kind of Lotus Sun domain. It actually has the ability to adapt to local conditions? Wang Ming laughed in his heart. He could see that the power of the girl's Lotus Sun domain had this ability. It would switch to different modes depending on the environment. For example, in a low-risk area like number 59 high school, the Lotus Sun domain took the route of being close to the people, and could slowly turn nearby people into fans. After all, number 59 high school was still in the country. It was true that the students of number 59 high school usually didn't study together, but when it came to a competition, they would always bump into each other. Thus, the Lotus Sun domain, which took the route of being close to the people, was in fact also paving the way for itself. But Judeo's situation was different from that of number 59 high school. This was a foreign country, and they had come as exchange students, so it would be hard for them to run into each other in the future. Thus, there was no need to take the route of being close to the people. Of course, the main thing was that Lotus Sun felt that from the moment Wang Ling entered Judeo High School, the girls there had been sneaking glances at him. This made the girl instinctively unhappy. She immediately regarded Judeo as a hostile danger zone. Since it was a danger zone, the close to the people route of Lotus Sun domain was instantly switched to the suppressive aura route. Holding her dinner plate, she stood at the very front, and everyone who looked at her was clearly fearful. Beautiful girls in puberty are really scary. Wang Ming couldn't help muttering with a bitter smile as he followed behind her. This was also the first time he had seen Lotus Sun look as if someone owed her hundreds of millions of yuan. Her protectiveness was a little too obvious, but it didn't matter. Because he saw that the expression on Wang Ling's face was a lot calmer than he had imagined. Wang Ming knew all too well. His little brother Wang Ling was already used to all kinds of feelings of discomfort when he was in a completely unfamiliar foreign environment. This could be considered a kind of social phobia that had accumulated at a young age. Every time he was in a new environment, his face would turn pale for a long time before he could come back to his senses. The most painful time that Wang Ming could remember was when he was in junior high. Because of the new environment, Wang Ling's face had turned white. This had actually caused quite a number of senior middle school girls to take a fancy to him. They said that among the new students, there was a cute junior brother with a face as white as jade. What if *** king white as jade? Look at how that group of wolf-like people had scared the kid. It wasn't until Wang Ling entered number 60 high school that his social phobia eased up a lot. Now, it wasn't as serious as before. But there were times when there were too many strangers around him, and he still wasn't used to it. Hence, Wang Minglan. Wang Ling's calmness now was all thanks to Lotus Sunday. Following Lotus Sun's lead, the three of them found a place to sit in a corner, and Wang Ling directly sat on the sofa at the very end. Wang Ming sat directly next to Wang Ling. Jai Yin was very cooperative, and directly sat opposite Wang Ming. The two of them sat like that on purpose. Because this way, Lotus Sun could only sit opposite Wang Ling. A teenager and a girl in puberty eating face to face was also a simple and down-to-earth kind of romance. Chapter 15:10. Thus, during the meal, Lotus Sun once again had the feeling that everything had been arranged for her. In a secret corner surrounded by familiar people, this sense of reassurance undoubtedly alleviated his social phobia by a lot. Jiudao Wahai's food was excellent, and it was all cultivator food. In order to ensure each student's nutrition, everyone in Jiudao Wahai was the same when it came to food. There was no difference in treatment. The main ingredient for lunch today was black beef cubes, which were said to be spirit cattle raised on the ranch behind Jiudao Wahai. They had grown up on concentrated feed, and the meat was delicious. Wang Ling had never seen a school specially set up several farms to provide food for their lunches, as expected of one of the most famous schools on Sun Island. Wang Ling drank his fish broth and couldn't help sighing with emotion in his heart. He didn't know that his current seat was actually Akino Usagi's special one. Unfortunately, because Jiugong's star brilliance had warned Chim Usagi in advance not to act rashly. Akino Usagi could only suppress his anger and sit on the other side as he sullenly chewed the beef cubes in his mouth. It was as if he was gnawing on Wang Ling's flesh. He knew that his attitude was very abnormal. Logically speaking, those who had come from afar were guests. In any case, this bunch of people from number 60 high would only be staying for a few days. There was indeed no need for him to be angry. As the president of the student union, he should show his tolerance and magnanimity. But he didn't know why. Chim Usagi noticed that Lotus Sun's gaze had been fixed on that pretty boy called Wang Holang. The anger in his heart was like an old blood clot in his heart, and Chim Usagi found it increasingly difficult to breathe. Brother Chim, if you really like lotus sauce that much, then hurry up and find a chance to confess. It's only a few days, the peacock man who had picked on Wang Ling in class earlier suddenly said at that moment. Chim Usagi was instantly incoherent. Who likes her? How could I, like that, scary woman? Although he said that, the expression on his face completely betrayed him. His burning face was just like the medium-well beef cubes on the plate, with a fresh red tint to it. It's too obvious, President. At that moment, the short-haired vice president of the student union with the code name, Sparrow, spoke. Chive Sasaki, she expressionlessly enjoyed the delicacies on the plate and faintly said, since you like it so much, then you should seize the opportunity to make a move. Do you want me to prepare the knockout drug and room card? Your way of thinking is very dangerous. I'm a gentleman. The corner of Leek Sasaki's mouth twitched. He had always felt that his vice president, Sparrow, was a black-bellied woman. This guy could always say some scary things calmly. He was probably the kind of person who would turn black when he was cut open. But to be honest, Peacock Man and Sparrow's few words had indeed revealed Leek Sasaki's true troubles. He had originally thought that his attitude towards Lotus Sun should be fear. It was also because of this fear that he worked so hard. He cultivated day and night, learning all kinds of cultivation theories and knowledge. All of this was so that the next time they met, he would be able to appear in front of the girl with a better posture. What Chive Sasaki didn't expect was that the fear he understood was actually love. So, this is the feeling of liking someone. Chive Sasaki's face turned slightly red as he sighed inwardly. Looking in Lotus Sun's direction, he propped his face on one hand and used his knife and fork to fiddle with the dice-like pieces of beef on the plate. Only now did he suddenly understand why he had found that classmate, Wang Lang, so displeasing to the eye. It turned out that it was all because of jealousy. Can you guys do me a favor? At this moment, Chive Sasaki looked at Peacock Man and Sparrow and asked. Have you finally made up your mind, President? Sparrow sneered. I still have a lot of drugs. I told you, I'm not asking you to drug her. Can't you think more normally and not so dark? Chive Sasaki was speechless. If it's not to drug her, then what else can it be? Sparrow sighed. By the way, where did you get so many drugs? Even Peacock Man was a little curious now. They were all given to me by others in the past. They wanted to sleep with me. Then I found the bottle and confiscated it, Sparrow said calmly. The Sparrow said calmly, so I received a lot of strange medicines of all colors. Sleep with you. Both Chive Sasaki and Peacock Man were shocked. They were more familiar with Sparrow, so they wouldn't have such thoughts. But in fact, Sparrow's facial features were indeed exquisite, and the freckles on her face were actually harmless. She just needed some simple makeup to cover them up, and she would be a standard beauty. Simply put, after makeup, Sparrow was indeed the small and cute type. If it wasn't for the fact that Sparrow was black when she was cut open, and that she looked cute but was extremely black-bellied on the inside, Chive Sasaki and Peacock Man couldn't guarantee that they wouldn't have such evil thoughts. Is it that strange? I'm quite cute. Sparrow chuckled. Chive Sasaki was noncommittal. Then, what happened to those who wanted to sleep with you? Sparrow thought for a moment and concluded, I slept with the good-looking ones. I legated the unattractive ones. When Chive Sasaki and Peacock Man heard this, they instantly felt uncomfortable. The conversation ended. Chive Sasaki quickly made his request. Can you think of a way to send that Hirai Langsen away from me? I want to eat with Miss Lotus Sun. He actually didn't have any evil intentions. It was purely because he wanted to have a meal with Lotus Sunday. Because of his jealousy, his attitude toward Wang Ling was a little unfriendly. But Chive Sasaki actually didn't want to hurt anyone. For one thing, he now had a clear understanding of his feelings and attitude toward Lotus Sunday. For another, it was also because of his previous communication with Nine Palace Starlight that Chive Sasaki wouldn't act rashly. Send them away? Peacock Man frowned. It won't be easy to send them away from that position. There are people blocking the entrance. I think it's better to drug it. I think laxatives will do. Sparrow thought for a moment and said, wouldn't laxatives be too light? Wouldn't it be better if it's food poisoning directly? Let them stay in the hospital for a few days. Chive Sasaki's heart thumped when he heard this, and he wiped the sweat off his face. By the way, can you use a more normal method? A more normal method, this person was so troublesome. Sparrow thought in his heart, and couldn't help sighing. Then we can only use that. Peacock Man immediately understood what Sparrow was saying. You mean that? Sparrow, yes, that. Chive Sasaki. So who on earth was this? Sparrow, President, do you remember that our school's principal summoned an internet celebrity scientist a while ago? Oh, you mean that Master Shochong. Chive Sasaki remembered. That's right. Sparrow nodded. In fact, Master Shochong specially arranged a gift for our student union before he left. He modified all the electric massage sofas in the cafeteria. Why didn't I know? Chive Sasaki was surprised. President is busy with official business. Is there a need to know about this? Sparrow sneered. But I still haven't found a suitable opportunity to test the gift Master Shochong left behind. It won't be very dangerous, right? No, Sparrow said calmly. It said that the modified massage sofas have the ability to defend against overbearing seats. Don't worry, President. He just modified the massage head and strength regulation function. The massage device will automatically activate later. Lang-san is only at the foundation establishment stage, so he definitely won't be able to withstand that kind of strength. As long as he gets up, won't President's opportunity come? At first glance, this method didn't seem to be a problem. At the very least, it was a lot more reliable than one-sided poisoning. But because they hadn't done any concrete experiments on the modified massage chairs before, there was no way to know the exact effect. No one here could say for sure. Then, they might as well give it a try first. Thus, Chive Sasaki nodded and agreed to Sparrow's proposal. On the other side, Wang Ling was resting in his seat when he suddenly felt the massage sofa under him move. Without any warning, the massage sofa started to fall back. Wang Ming could vaguely hear the sound of an electric drill coming from the massage sofa. But this sound was very faint. If he was a little further away, it would actually be very hard to hear clearly. Did someone tamper with it? Wang Ming instantly guessed what on earth was going on. He used his brain waves to search the entire cafeteria. By capturing the micro-expressions on everyone's faces, he could easily determine who on earth had done it. Very quickly, he directly locked onto the Chive Sasaki trio. Although their gazes didn't directly meet Wang Ling's, they still couldn't escape Wang Ming's gaze. They actually dared to make a move on Ling Zi. These three little things have guts. The corners of Wang Ming's lips curled up slightly. In the end, high school students were still high school students. In Wang Ming's eyes, this kind of underhanded method was actually a little childish. Furthermore, from a technical point of view, Wang Ming judged that these modified massage sofas probably hadn't come from the Chive Sasaki trio. After using Wang Ling 3's mechanical eye to scan the massage chair, Wang Ling's expression changed. From the interior configuration and design of the massage chairs, Wang Ming felt that it was the work of that online celebrity scientist, Shochong. After a fierce analysis, Wang Ming wanted to retaliate, but he didn't feel any discomfort from Wang Ling, so he wasn't in a hurry to make a move. What do you think, Ling Ling? Is there anything you don't lose? Wang Ming asked softly. No. Wang Ling closed his eyes and replied telepathically. As for the massage sofa which had suddenly been activated, although Wang Ling was astonished in his heart, his expression was still very calm. Master Shochong had modified the massage sofa, and the massage head had been changed into an electric drill design. Furthermore, the strength of the massage had also been greatly enhanced. There were very few people below the nascent soul stage who could lie on this modified massage sofa for more than 10 seconds. On the other side, Chive Sasaki was already prepared for Wang Ling to get up on his own. But he didn't know why. He observed this scene from a distance. He somehow felt that Wang Ling was enjoying himself. Is this going to work or not? Why do I feel like Lang-san is enjoying himself? The corners of Chive Sasaki's eyes twitched. But Sparrow didn't quite understand this situation. It shouldn't be like this. This is already the maximum. According to Master Shochong, a foundation establishment cultivator wouldn't be able to last more than a few seconds under this kind of strength before standing up. Wang Ling was indeed enjoying himself. Although the effect of this massage sofa actually looked ordinary to Wang Ling, he felt that it wasn't too bad. After all, there weren't many massage sofas nowadays that could make Wang Ling feel anything. Because it was more strenuous for Wang Ling, ordinary mechanical massage equipment had almost no effect on him. But Shochong's sofa gave Wang Ling a slight sense of the massage head's existence. It was very weak, but at least it could relax his muscles. Wang Ling knew that someone was making a move on him. But this kind of method could still be considered polite. So he wasn't unhappy. He closed his eyes in passing and lay down on the massage sofa to take a nap. Half an hour later, the group from number 60 high school left. Chive Sasaki immediately looked like he was scratching his head. How could this be? Didn't you say that this massage chair is very strong? I don't know, but that's what Master Shochong said. Sparrow was very innocent. If you don't believe me, you can try it. I'll try it. Flustered and exasperated, Chive Sasaki walked over and lay down where Wang Ling had just been. 3 seconds later, there was a miserable scream. Chive Sasaki bounced up from the massage sofa with a pained expression. Then, he fell face first onto the ground. His entire body fell heavily to the ground with a plop. The moment the massage head touched his body, that kind of acute pain was already hard to describe. It was like 100,000 electric drills were pointed at his back, and the electric poison dragon drill was madly firing at that shameless operator called Kushuan to right. Later, Chive Sasaki was carried into the infirmary by Sparrow and Peacock Man with his butt in the air. The preliminary examination showed that he had sprained his waist muscles and had a slight bone fracture. This wasn't a particularly serious injury for a cultivator, but Chive Sasaki felt like he was going to die if he lay there for a few more seconds. So it hurts that much. That whole Lang Sang actually withstood it, how incredible. Sparrow sighed. It seems that this massage sofa is indeed very strong. By the way, Peacock, do you want to try it? No, no. Peacock Man's heart was still fluttering with fear. Thanks to Chive Sasaki's experience, he now understood how strong that modified massage sofa was. This was probably the stuff of legends. He died after trying it. Chive Sasaki, an early golden core cultivator, was already like this. If he, a foundation establishment cultivator, were to lie down there, he would directly explode into a mountain of orange blossoms. That night, Wang Ling and the others had originally planned to return to the residence that the Kagaku family had arranged for them. But Nine Paths and High School had organized a freshman welcoming party, and at the strong suggestion of Brilliant's immortal harmony, they still settled down in the dormitory that Nine Paths and High School had arranged for them. A freshman welcoming party wasn't an occasion for Wang Ling, so he chose to stay in the dormitory alone. In any case, there were 3 of them, and it was fine as long as Lotus Sun and Wang Ming attended as representatives. Wang Ling didn't have to go to begin with. Don't worry, classmate Wang Ling, just leave it to me and Brother Air. Remember to close the doors and windows, and let me know if other girls bother you. Lotus Sun reminded him before they left. Wang Ming watched from a distance, stifling his laughter. No matter how he looked at it, it felt like a couple saying goodbye, but as for whether Wang Ling would be disturbed by other girls, in fact, Lotus Sun had already made arrangements. Jia Yin's dormitory window faced Wang Ling's dormitory door in the opposite direction of the female dormitory building. If a sneaky girl passed by Wang Ling's door, Jia Yin would notice it right away. But to be honest, she felt that Lotus Sun was overthinking things. Even if a girl came looking for Wang Ling, given Wang Ling's willpower, he would never make that kind of mistake. For a sexually apathetic and abstinent straight man like Blockhead, trying to play tricks on this, the success rate was 0%, when Wang Ling opened his eyes at around 7:00 in the evening, he saw a figure in front of him. It was none other than Golden Lamp Monk. He didn't come in through the front door, but directly appeared in front of Wang Ling using the distance reduction spell. "Greetings, Ling Zhenren." Golden Lamp Monk put his palms together. Wearing number 60 high school's uniform, he still looked as comical as before. "Zhenren, I'm sure you've already noticed that there are half-ghosts in this school." Wang Ling nodded. The half-ghost the monk was talking about was actually a technical term. It meant that a ghost that wasn't a complete body, and hadn't completely turned into a ghost, but had the possibility of becoming one. From the moment they entered Nine Paths and high school, Wang Ling and Golden Lamp Monk were acutely aware of how unusual this Nine Paths and high school was, because they had already probed the Nine Palace Star Brilliance. Wang Ling already had a general understanding of how Nine Palace Star Brilliance and the demon spirit in its body worked. The other party used hair strands to control ghosts remotely. This ability was very frightening. Furthermore, almost every strand of hair was bound to a ghost. But where did such a large number of ghosts come from? At that time, Wang Ling had also been pondering this question. Now, he had found the answer to this question. If he used these half-ghosts to cultivate ghosts, it would be very easy. Throughout Nine Paths and high school, there were a lot of students whose minds were already distorted because of the strong xenophobia, academic pressure and school violence. Among these students, some had already become half-ghosts, and some were about to become half-ghosts. They all had the potential to become ghosts. Hence, for Nine Palace Star Brilliance and the demon spirit. The whole of Nine Paths and high school was their ghost farm. After discovering this secret, the first thing Golden Lamp Monk did was to discuss it with Wang Ling. He didn't act rashly right away. "I wanted to directly use the righteous Buddha light to save those students who haven't yet become ghosts. However, doing so may alert the enemy," Monk Golden Lamp said. By doing so, they could indeed save a lot of students. But in fact, they were also helping Nine Palace Star Brilliance destroy the evidence. Wang Ling had the ability to foil Nine Palace Star Brilliance's plan. But he was such an evil person against humanity. If he wasn't exposed in the end, he would be spurned and punished by everyone. This made Wang Ling feel uncomfortable all along. Of course, for such an evil person, even if Wang Ling crushed him to death like an ant, no one would feel sorry for him. But if possible, Wang Ling still hoped that the evil deeds of Nine Palace Star Brilliance and the star pluckers behind him could be exposed to the world. Instead of using his boundless energy to suppress them, because then people would never learn to reflect, and in the end would only regress. There were many ways to be a hero. 6 years ago, Audiobook had been a warrior who had raised his sword despite knowing that he was no match for the demon king like a god of war. Like Audiobook, there were still plenty of defying ones, who charged toward the strongest without looking back, but there were still plenty of them in this world. Given the current situation, Wang Ling felt that it was more important to collect evidence of Nine Palace Star Brilliance's crimes. This actually wasn't difficult. He just needed to wait for the right time to reverse the situation. There were so many half-ghosts in the Nine Paths and high school. Since Nine Palace Star Brilliance used this place as his ghost farm, then there had to be a way to forcibly turn these half-ghosts into real ghosts. So what Wang Ling needed to do was very simple. Since you've turned a human into a ghost, why can't he just turn the human back into a ghost? For Wang Ling, this process was like mathematics. The Great Tao was the simplest, and in the end, it was nothing more than a mathematical formula. Since it was a formula, it could be reversed. After a brief telepathic exchange, the monk completely understood what Wang Ling was thinking. "I fully support Ling Zhenren's decision." For the monk, following Wang Ling was always the right choice. From the moment he had entered the island, the monk had always wanted to spread the light of the righteous path across all of Sun Island. It could only be said that Nine Palace Star Brilliance's recruitment of 100,000 ghost soldiers was still too exaggerated. As a senior monk who had achieved the Tao, he was a supreme existence in Buddhism. As soon as Monk Golden Lamp entered Sun Island, he felt that there were many ghosts on the island. If it wasn't for his increased self-control, he wouldn't have been able to recognize them. Buddhists were misophobic, and the most taboo thing was to see this kind of filthy thing floating in front of them. In contrast, Wang Ling was so calm and collected. Monk Golden Lamp instantly felt the gap between his and Wang Ling's composure. As expected of Ling Junren, he's really calm. After the exchange, the monk sighed with emotion. He felt that he still had a lot to learn from Wang Ling. Since he didn't need to do anything now, then, he would just bide his time and do as Wang Ling said. The monk had nothing else to do. He could only use the distance shrinking technique to return to the staff dormitory that Jyoha Middle School had arranged for him, and hide there to quietly study function questions alone. Knowledge was power. How could ordinary people understand the charma functions? Forcibly turning them into ghosts, thinking of what he had just discussed with Monk Golden Lamp, Wang Ling found it a little funny. He had a rough idea of what 9 Palace Star Brilliance was capable of. There were a lot of half-ghosts here. He speculated that 9 Palace Star Brilliance used his hair to remotely manipulate these half-ghosts with potential, and forcibly turn them into ghosts. This was mainly based on the negative energy that the half-ghosts gave off. Then, what would happen if he absorbed all the negative energy here? He had to admit that this seemed a little like fishing. But it was fine as long as it worked. Then, Wang Ling closed his eyes slightly. For a moment, countless resentful voices poured into his mind. Ah! This question is so difficult. I don't know how to do it. Damn it, why is there so much homework today? Why do I feel like I can't finish it? Looks like I can only get up early tomorrow to copy homework. But if I copy homework, what about the exam? No. I can't read anymore. This is definitely the last one. If I keep reading, I'm going to have kidney deficiency at such a young age. I didn't bully Yezi because I like her. She's clearly that kind of person. I don't want to apologize to her. The little slut next door is fooling around again. She clearly has a boyfriend, but she's still dressed so ostentatiously. I screwed up again. I'm 2 marks away from full marks. If I don't get full marks, my life will be ruined. This damn Kushwan, he updates so slowly every day, and he's even saying that. Doesn't he have any self-awareness? He's clearly a mother fetus solo author. Why is he writing love scenes? Go fight for me. I want to see Wang Ling act pretentious. There were many voices like this. Teenagers nowadays were under a lot of pressure to study, and it was very common for them to have all kinds of mental imbalances. Especially before the college entrance examination, the last straw that broke a teenager's back might just be an exam paper, a seemingly insignificant sentence, or just a hurtful word. Therefore, in almost all schools, psychological teachers were arranged to be in charge of psychological guidance, ready to adjust the psychological problems of the children at any time. He condensed all the resentment of the teenagers in the air around him. Filled with negative energy, it turned into a black ball the size of a basketball in Wang Ling's palm. Wang Ling used the negative energy he had gathered as bait. After waiting for a while, he suddenly heard the sound of something breaking through the air behind him. Sure enough, it's here. Wang Ling was calm. He swiftly crushed the ball of negative energy in his hand, and then quickly grabbed the strand of hair that was trying to reach his head. On the other side, the moment Wang Ling grabbed Jiao Gongxing's hair again, that familiar feeling came again. Both Mo Ling and Jiao Gongxing were terrified at the same time. This familiar aura, this familiar technique, in an instant, that suffocating feeling came again. Terrified, Jiao Gongxing Hui could not help but take a deep breath. She did not believe that Wang Lang was the ghost named Back Wave. But now, in the face of Wang Ling's direct showdown, 9 Palace Star Radiance was suddenly at a loss for what to do. Jiao Gongxing Hui, why did you provoke him out of nowhere? The demon spirit felt wronged. My initial target was just Hikari. But I suddenly felt a huge amount of negative energy gathering in the 9 paths, and my hair was automatically attracted to it. It was obvious that it was a trap. However, due to the horror of having her hair pulled out in the morning, fortunately, Mo Ling was prepared this time. Her reaction was very fast. After determining that his hair was being pulled, he immediately used the gecko severing its tail technique and automatically gave up that hair. Was he afraid just like that? Wang Ling found it a little funny. He brushed away the strand of hair that was gradually turning white on his finger like dust. Mo Ling thought that he had escaped successfully. But in fact, the moment Wang Ling had grabbed that strand of hair just now, Wang Ling had already locked onto the frequency of the demon spirit power signal. His fishing technique just now had been to lock onto the demon spirit. And now, as long as he was within range of the 9 paths, no matter how the demon spirit changed his spirit power frequency or how he concealed himself, it would be ineffective against Wang Ling. Wang Ling sat cross-legged in his dormitory. He closed his eyes. Countless streams of air split off from Wang Ling to form clones that were invisible to ordinary people, and then abruptly spread out in all directions. Through what had happened just now, Wang Ling had already sensed that some of the students in the 9 paths had already been forcibly turned into ghosts by the demon spirit. While he had been controlling the demon spirit's movements, he had also been thinking about how to rescue these students. And now, counterattack. It had officially begun. In the girls' dormitory building in 9 Paths High School Area C. A girl named Hikari Onoko woke up after a short nap. She realized that her appearance had changed drastically. Cat-eared girl? She stared at herself in the mirror, and for a moment felt that the world had become abnormal. The cat ears on her head and the whiskers on her cheek seemed to be telling her everything that had happened. She was turning into a cat. And it definitely wasn't because she was dreaming. If it was just a pair of cat ears on her head, Hikari Onoko might have been able to accept it. But now, she realized that her face was gradually turning into that of a cat. In addition to the whiskers, there was also a layer of light fluff. Although she liked cats very much, she still couldn't accept the fact that she had become a cat-eared girl. The main thing was that this cat-eared girl was too ugly. It wasn't 2D at all. Her skin was furry and wrinkled. It was so ugly that Hikari Onoko almost cried. When she had first entered 9 Paths High School, Hikari Onoko had still been a student in Class S. She loved animals, and especially loved kittens. She often used her pocket money to buy cat food to feed the little guys on campus. This behavior seemed to have angered those hidden perverts in Class S. They were all twisted cat abusers. They often took videos of cat abuse and sold them on the internet. Hikari Onoko's behavior of feeding stray cats had angered these cat abusers. Then, a 2-year-long school violence began. Every day in class, there were all kinds of humiliating words, erasers in her water bottles, and all kinds of additives. Even when she handed in her homework, someone would help her erase it. The scariest thing was that those cat abusers would blame all the cat abuse incidents on Hikari Onoko. Hikari Onoko's grades plummeted. She dropped from Class S to Class C. She began to become autistic and unwilling to communicate with others. She had once tried to ask for help from her teacher. The teacher told her. The people in Class S were all influential people. She would endure it if she could. She had also tried to ask for help from her parents. Her parents told her. 9 Paths High School was a famous school. Since she was studying here, she had to learn to blend in with the environment and not do things that didn't fit in with the crowd. No one really understood her. No one really understood her thoughts. Even the people who were closest to her didn't bring her any comfort. After accumulating for a long time, Hikari Onoko's spirit completely collapsed. She felt that she was living like an aimless wandering soul. If it weren't for the fact that there were still a few kittens in 9 Paths High School that needed someone to take care of, Hikari Onoko would have already chosen to end her life. As for tonight's welcome party, Hikari Onoko naturally didn't dare to attend it. She was very clear. If she went, it would be nothing more than another kind of humiliation. At this time, Hikari Onoko, who didn't know that she had been forcibly turned into a ghost, stood in front of the mirror and stared blankly at the changes that had happened to her body. Her claws seemed to have become sharper than before, and the shining sharp blades were like blades. Her scarlet eyes and barbed cat tail were like a whip. With just a light wave, the wall behind her collapsed under the huge force of the tail. Have I really become a monster? Hikari Onoko didn't know what had happened to her body. And at the next moment, she felt her head becoming very painful. Countless voices were hovering in her mind. Those voices were egging her on. They wanted her to take revenge on everything that had happened to her in the past. She wanted to take revenge on those who had bullied and humiliated her. In a daze, Hikari Onoko's mind flashed back to the many pitiful kittens she had seen. These kittens had been caught by cat abusers and tortured to death with utility knives. Their fur had been plucked, they had been set on fire, and they had been electrocuted. These cat abusers had used their tyranny on these weak lives to show off their strength. Gradually, an inexplicable anger began to rise in Hikari Onoko's heart. Just when she felt like she was about to be swallowed up by hatred, an unfamiliar figure suddenly appeared in front of her. This person was none other than Wang Ling's clone. "Don't be afraid, I'm here to help you," Wang Ling's clone said. Wang Ling had originally sent these clones to reform the students who had already become ghosts. The clone represented Wang Ling's will, but their personalities were actually different. Wang Ling's clone had a very advanced AI mechanism. It could automatically judge the situation in front of it and adjust itself to be what these students who needed to be reformed wanted to see the most. And so, when Hikari Onoko saw Wang Ling's clone, she felt that the youngster in front of her was glowing like a small sun. "You are?" Hikari Onoko said hesitantly. "My name is Back Wave. I'm here to help you restore your human body," Wang Ling's clone said. This was according to the clone's AI mechanism. Ever since Hikari Onoko entered Nine Paths High School, no one had ever spoken to her so gently. Thus, using the gentle route was the best way to break through. "Now that things have come to this, can I really change back?" Hikari Onoko cried. "Actually, you've been restraining yourself all this time, haven't you?" Wang Ling's clone smiled very naturally. But this kind of smile was almost impossible to see on the real body. "Just like when you're talking to me now, your tears fall involuntarily. This proves that you actually don't want to become a ghost. You're a kind girl. That's not your problem. The fact that you saved those stray cats also proves that you have a kind heart. So in the future, please continue to be kind. All kind people deserve to be treated well." Hikari Onoko couldn't stop her tears anymore. Suddenly, she felt a trace of warm spirit power seep into her body from her forehead. Then, all the characteristics of her ghost transformation quickly disappeared at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. He actually did it. Hikari Onoko looked at what was happening to her body in disbelief. "It's a piece of cake." Wang Ling withdrew his hand. "Okay, my mission is accomplished. See you again." Back Wave sang. Before Wang Ling's clone disappeared, Hikari Onoko suddenly summoned up her courage and called out to him. How can I repay you?" "You don't need to repay me," Wang Ling's clone replied. Wang Ling's clone replied, "Continue to exercise your goodwill. That's the best repayment." After all, Wang Ling's real body had done a lot of good things. Furthermore, he had never left his name. Hikari Onoko blushed. Because she had never been treated so gently before, Hikari Onoko couldn't tell if she was touched or liked it. She looked at the back of Wang Ling's clone and summoned up the last of her courage. Back Wave sang. When Wang Ling's clone came back to his senses, he saw a huge shadow lunging at him. Fortunately, the clone reacted quickly and directly stretched out his hand to stop Hikari Onoko's body. "Sorry, I'm not used to being too close to people." "Sorry," Back Wave sang. "I was rude." Hikari Onoko's face was clearly a little disappointed. "Then, can I give you a gentle hug?" "Just a hug." "No." This was a matter of principle. The clone's refusal was also very firm. He didn't want to give these boys/girls any illusions. So it wasn't just Hikari Onoko, Wang Ling's clone did the same for the rest of the people. It was just that everyone's situation was different. Wang Ling's clone's refusal was also different. Facing Hikari Onoko, Wang Ling's clone's refusal was more decisive. After the incident, Hikari Onoko and many of the students who had been transformed by Wang Ling's clone that night and turned back into human beings couldn't remember what Wang Ling looked like for a while. They only remembered that teenager called himself Backwave. Like a god descending to the earth, he was full of sunshine. He appeared in front of them when they needed him the most. With the world's most gentle words, he melted their bruised hearts. It was like a dream. Or rather, it was a dream. In this world, was there any boy more handsome and more considerate than Backwave sang? They regarded this memory as the most precious secret of their lives. And they would carry this secret with them. And continue to work hard to live on with all the beauty and kindness. Small theater, not related to the main plot or the short story Lotus Sun. Classmate Wang Ling, can I give you a gentle hug? Just a hug, Wang Ling, no. That's another price. Chapter 15:11. He had finally solved the problem of all the students who had been forcibly turned into ghosts in 9 Paths and high school. Wang Ling withdrew his clones and opened his eyes. To the students he had helped before, the appearance of these doppelgangers was indeed like a faintly discernible dream. There was a hint of illusion in the reality. By the time they came back to their senses, the teenager called Backward Wave in their memories had already left. Then, they forgot what Backward Wave looked like, and also forgot how horrifying they looked when they were turned into ghosts. The only thing they remembered was the illusory scene of that teenager called Backward Wave leaving with the light of an angel descending, like a young radiant angel from heaven. He shook his feathers, not leaving a single cloud behind. Then, he engraved the memories of the clones he had retrieved into a dream on his hand. The content of the dreams was exactly what the students who had become ghosts had felt when their bodies had changed. That was the most direct impact. Wang Ling felt that it wouldn't be a bad idea to carve out these mental shocks as dreams and then return them to the organizers of the school bullying. Pay them back in their own coin. As the saying went, every debt had a debtor. The reason why these students at the bottom of 9 Paths and high school had become ghosts today was that none of these upper-class students who had participated in school violence were innocent. Since that was the case, Wang Ling intended to be a good person to the end. He decided to use these painful memories he had collected to inflict them on the school bullies. Of course, he wasn't going to turn them into ghosts. Wang Ling wasn't that cruel. He was just going to make them have nightmares. Until the bullies completely realized their mistakes and turned over a new leaf, they would experience the same mental shocks that these students who had been turned into ghosts had gone through every night. After this was done, the whole thing finally came to an end for Wang Ling. But this victory was only temporary. Behind the scenes, it was still Jiugong Xinghuai who was truly pulling the strings. Wang Ling actually hadn't expected the other party to actually have the guts to test him. Since they had already made a move on him, then Wang Ling felt that the second round of warnings could begin. He hadn't pulled out much hair the last time, and tonight was still a long night. The king's eye had already locked onto Jiugong Xinghuai's true form through that strand of hair. In other words, no matter what methods 9 Palace Starlight and the Devil Spirit used, it would be useless. Cicada shedding its carapace, or gecko severing its tail. Or he could scatter a lot of ghosts that had the ability to interfere. All of this was useless in front of Wang Ling. You can run, you can run. I'll follow you to the ends of the earth. So what if you have to travel hundreds of millions of light years first? The Five-Finger Mountain was indeed the Five-Finger Mountain. At the same time, Jiugong Xinghui began his escape plan in a panic. Neither she nor the demon spirit had expected that the person called Wang Lang would actually be the ghost who had stretched out his hand to pull out his hair from the mirror. To be exact, it wasn't actually a ghost. Instead, it was a genuine cultivator, a human being. Their previous understanding of Wang Ling as a ghost had been nothing more than wishful thinking. Damn it, how could a human cultivator, and number 60 High's mascot at that, have such terrifying strength? Jiugong Xinghui made a deal with Mo Ling in the past. She had in fact been greedy for the ghost's formidable strength. She had thought that if she signed a contract with the ghost and became one, her battle strength would increase substantially, even to a level that a normal earth cultivator wouldn't be able to match. But now, Jiu Gong Xinghui realized that she had been wrong. There actually really was an evildoer on earth that was beyond her understanding. The demon spirit in her body wasn't an ordinary ghost. Instead, it was a top-notch vengeful spirit that had already lived for 1,000 years. Even Mo Ling hadn't expected that after a human was forcibly turned into a ghost, it could actually be turned back. This wasn't AF*** king math problem. It could even be reversed. So, Mo Ling was stupefied, and so was Jiu Gong Xinghui. They could sense the lifeless expressions on the faces of the students who had been corrected, which simply couldn't be described with words. Under such a violent mental assault, both Jiu Gong Xinghui and Mo Ling felt it. Their three views were being reshaped and their understanding was being refreshed. Then, when they came back to their senses, both the man and the ghost thought of the same thing at the same time: run. They could sense the huge gap between them and Wang Ling. And this kind of gap in strength clearly couldn't be filled with the main book of the ghost record. Where there's life, there's hope. The most important thing right now was to escape. Jiu Gong Xinghui had wanted to test Wang Ling's strength. In the end, she hadn't expected that her test would almost cost her her life. We definitely can't just run like this. We have to plan our route and then set off some interference. To delay the other party's progress, Jiu Gong Xinghui suggested. I know. Mo Ling nodded. I've just released 10,000 ghosts. These ghosts are scattered all over Sun Island and will cause a lot of chaos. I think that should be enough to buy us some time. So you've already released them? Jiu Gong Xinghui was stunned. At that moment, she stroked her hair. It was just a casual grab. A large tuft of hair fell off the top of her head. This was the effect of Mo Ling unlocking the resting ghosts. Jiu Gong Xinghui's heart was bleeding when this large tuft of hair fell off. But extraordinary times called for extraordinary measures. Furthermore, Jiu Gong Xinghui was also wondering if these 10,000 ghosts could really delay Wang Ling. Are you sure it's okay to do this? Why do I feel like it's unreliable? Jiu Gong Xinghui raised her doubts. This is 10,000 ghosts. Furthermore, the ghosts under us are all carefully selected top-notch goods. They won't be that easy to deal with. Mo Ling said confidently, even if we released 10,000 pigs for that Wang Ling to catch on Sun Island, it would still take a lot of time, right? Not to mention, ghosts? I hope so. Jiu Gong Xinghui frowned. The next step in her plan was actually to escape Earth. Back then, her maiden family, the Akano family, which now represented the Star Plucker group, had in fact dealt with a silver-horned alien creature a long time ago. Now, the Star Plucker group was interdependent with this silver-horned creature, and had long since become an inseparable part of it. The Star Plucker group had actually always been prepared for an escape plan. It was just that they hadn't expected it to be carried out today. Let's go, we don't have much time left. After calculating the remaining time, Jiu Gong Xinghui hid herself in a magic artifact the size of a millet grain as a hiding vessel. She turned into a firefly-like ball of light and quickly left the Jiu Gong family's residence. At the same time, inside the grain of rice, Jiu Gong Xinghui was also paying close attention to the clump of hair that had fallen off her head earlier. The current color of her hair still looked very healthy. This meant that the 10,000 ghosts that Mo Ling had released were still in operation. If they were wiped out, the hair on her hand would instantly turn dry and white, losing all its nutrients. According to Mo Ling's calculations, it wouldn't be easy to clear out these 10,000 ghosts. It would take at least a few days for the other party to do so, but the next moment, the slap in the face came too suddenly. Not long after Jiu Gong Xinghui escaped the Jiu Gong family. The clump of black hair in her hand instantly dried up and turned into nothingness. Both Jiu Gong Xinghui and Mo Ling's faces twisted in shock. They had only released 10,000 ghosts. In the blink of an eye, they had all been wiped out. Chapter 1512. Wang Ling's purpose in using the strands of hair to lock onto 9 Palace Star Brilliance and Devil Spirits' bodies wasn't just for the ultimate goal. It was also to be able to properly set up the one-click cleanup spell trap. He had predicted that 9 Palace Star Brilliance and Devil Spirit would probably plan to escape. Since they were going to escape, they would definitely release a certain degree of interference. So it wasn't too strange for them to voluntarily release ghosts that were bound to them. Thus, the moment Wang Ling locked onto 9 Palace Star Brilliance's body, she had already lost. At that moment, Wang Ling had also set up the one-click cleanup spell trap on all the strands of hair, and it was a linked mechanism. As long as one of the ghosts released at the same time was destroyed, the rest would suffer the same damage. It was indeed very troublesome for Wang Ling to capture 10,000 ghosts wandering around Sun Island at the same time, mainly because he was worried that he would make too much noise and hurt the innocent. But it was different now. With such a mechanism of consecutive sitting, Wang Ling only needed to crush one ghost, and the rest would follow suit. And so, the moment the 10,000 ghosts disappeared at the same time, 9 Palace Star Brilliance and Devil Spirit were both extremely shocked. Was she still AF*** King Human? 9 Palace Star Brilliance's face twitched, and she involuntarily swallowed a mouthful of spittle in her throat. She was actually hiding in that rice-sized magic artifact? Using the king's eye to track her, Wang Ling quickly locked onto the magic artifact the other party had used to escape. It looked like a grain of rice, but Wang Ling didn't think it was a magic artifact from Earth. He held back and did not immediately proceed with the next step of the suppression of the 9 Palace Starlight. Instead, he wanted to see where she would escape to next. It was obvious that it would be very difficult for 9 Palace Star Brilliance to be able to gather so many ghosts and merge them into one without a backer behind the scenes. Furthermore, Wang Ling had a feeling. He felt that 9 Palace Star Brilliance's aura was strange, despite the existence of Devil Spirit in her body. But Wang Ling could clearly distinguish between the auras of humans and ghosts. He found it strange, because he sensed a third aura flowing through 9 Palace Star Brilliance's body. What on earth was it? Following 9 Palace Star Brilliance all the way to the edge of Sun Island's golden coast. Then, the magic artifact that was the size of a grain of rice suddenly plunged into the beach. The entire process was so fast that ordinary people would not be able to see it with their naked eyes. Wang Ling had never expected the Star Zhaixing Group's base to actually be hidden under the golden beach of Sun Island. After following them in depth, Wang Ling was surprised to discover something. It turned out that under the golden beach, there was another hidden building that resembled an underground city, if Sun Island was compared to a poached egg. Then the city under the golden beach was the yolk of this poached egg. It was tightly wrapped inside, and it was buried very deeply. Using the king's eye to track it, Wang Ling discovered some alien words that he had never seen before. Wang Ling was even more stunned by this. Wang Ming's purpose on the island this time was in fact to track down the DNA of the Silver Horn alien who had attacked Wei Ji and Jiang Yingying back then. How did the Star Pluckers get involved with an extraterrestrial civilization? It can't be, right? It can't be so coincidental, right? Just as Wang Ling was sighing over how small the world was, in the Star Pluckers' Golden City, which was connected to the Golden Beach, a tunnel leading to the depths of the ocean caught Wang Ling's attention. Wang Ling used the king's eye to track it from afar. Only then did he discover that there was something fishy about the depths of the ocean. It turned out to be a well-constructed underwater base. It was just like the Ultraman base that Wang Ling had seen in special films when he was a child. It was just that it was built completely under the ocean. It was surrounded by a sturdy defensive barrier which was densely covered in alien words. Given current human cultivator technology, it would be very difficult to break through this level of alien barrier. Of course, no matter how advanced this barrier was, it would only take a snap of Wang Ling's fingers to break it. But after thinking about it, Wang Ling decided not to make a move first. This was a very crucial discovery. Because this underwater base looked very much like a secret alien military base. It was really too frightening. Such a colossus could actually be built right under the nose of a country without anyone knowing. This was something that no country's government would ever allow to happen. The Star Pluckers' establishment of China was a huge risk, and was most likely a premeditated plan. If this matter was exposed, it would be the biggest scandal the entire Sun Island would face. Wang Ling switched the king's eyes, free exploration, perspective back to 9 Palace Star Brilliance. He saw that 9 Palace Star Brilliance and Devil Spirit had already driven their magic artifacts into the Star Pluckers' core base in the Golden City below. Everything was as Wang Ling had expected. As expected, the Star Pluckers were colluding with an alien civilization. In addition to human cultivators, there was also a kind of silver-skinned creature with tentacles on its head in the Star Pluckers' core base. And now, he finally understood. The silver-horned person they had seen earlier was in fact an evolved version of this silver-skinned alien creature. The silver-skinned people had appeared on Earth a long time ago. They had a very powerful disguise which allowed them to change their skin like a chameleon. Furthermore, they only needed to provide a photo. Wang Ling had personally seen a silver-skinned person stare at a photo of a human for a few seconds, and then, like a kaleidoscope, there was an astonishing change in its body. It completely transformed into the human in the photo. In the core base, there was a place called the Human Learning Research Institute that attracted Wang Ling's special attention. After these silver-skinned people used the photo to transform into the person in the photo, they would also learn the culture of human cultivators to better integrate into society. They learned languages, various languages, played games, watched cartoons, and even learned how to do live streams and carry girls. Although their mobile game skills were very bad at the beginning, the silver-skinned people learned very quickly. They were also growing at a rapid pace. In the mobile MOBA game, League of Kings, for example, it only took an average of 1 week for a silver-skinned person to go from crazily sending heads to League of Kings. Wang Ling couldn't help but sigh with emotion. It turned out that sometimes the teammates who looked like they were screwed over weren't necessarily primary school students when they played games. It was also possible that they were aliens who mingled in human society and were trying to adapt to human life. In the Human Learning Research Institute, the silver-skinned people had to undergo systematic training before they could enter human society. The people who ran these courses were all genuine humans, and they were all members of the Star Pluckers. Wang Ling speculated that the Star Pluckers on Sun Island might have some kind of deal with the silver-skinned people. The interesting thing was that the silver-skinned people were even able to learn something as trivial as eating and drinking under the tutelage of the Star Pluckers. Everyone. Today, we're going to learn the right way to drink soft drinks. A very sturdy man stood in front of the lectern. There were 30 silver-skinned people sitting at desks in the classroom, and on each desk was a can of Coke. This thing is commonly known as Fat Otaku Coke. When you drink it, you have to do what I did, gently pull open the ring of the can, and then drink it down like this. After the man finished drinking it, the carbonated drink washed through his stomach and intestines, causing him to burp. He laughed loudly. It's normal to burp after drinking it like this. You don't need to panic. Other than carbonated drinks, there's also beer, which causes hiccups after drinking. But the alcohol lesson is a little more complicated. Given that students in other classes are already having sex after drinking, we'll split the alcohol homework into different classes. Wang Ling suddenly felt that these silver-skinned people were actually pretty interesting. In order to integrate into human society, they had deliberately learned human knowledge. In today's society where knowledge is power, even aliens who came to Earth couldn't avoid learning. But in Wang Ling's view, these silver-skinned people actually had a long way to go before they could learn. When they came into contact with human mathematics, Chinese language, physics and chemistry, and so on, they might collapse even more. But the silver-skinned people grew up very quickly, and were also able to infer many things from one instance. This made Wang Ling feel that he had to be on guard against these alien creatures. After all, the undersea military base connected to the Star Pluckers' underground Golden City was the work of these silver-skinned people. They combined the inherent knowledge in their minds and studied the laws of Earth to refine them over and over again through the collision of knowledge. In the end, it was possible to obtain knowledge that could break through modern attempts, and thus unlock unknown technology. Now, Wang Ling seemed to understand a little why Peng Shiren had chosen the silver-skinned people as a target for evolution. The speed at which these silver-skinned people grew up was indeed terrifying. If they could evolve into silver-horn people, their growth would probably be even more astonishing. We have to go. At that moment, Starlight Kyuka left his rice-sized escape magic artifact and appeared in the core base. The boss of the Star Pluckers appeared in the core base. He was a muscular, white-bearded man who was as sturdy as a small mountain. His name was Chiechyohu, and he was the current boss of the Star Pluckers as well as Starlight Kyuka's father. Starlight, what on earth happened? Why are you so flustered? Chiechyohu didn't understand. It had been Chiechyohu's idea to combine a human body and a ghost for the first time. He had experimented on his daughter, Starlight Kyuka, and the results were very good. Moving into the Jogong family had actually been Chiechyohu's own plan. Chiechyohu believed that the Jogong family was the only one on Sun Island who had the ability to pose a substantial threat to the Star Pluckers. If he could smoothly use his daughter to annex the Jogong family, then, dominating Sun Island was just around the corner. All that was left was to use the ability of the Hair Demon Spirit in Starlight Kyuka to control 100,000 soldiers, and gradually conquer the whole world. Chiechyohu had this ambition. And to support this ambition, he had to have formidable strength. Wang Ling observed Chiechyohu's fighting strength. He actually wasn't too strong. He had about half of Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's fighting strength. If Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal's fighting strength could be described as SOSO by human cultivator standards, then Chiechyohu was SOSO among the SOSO. But there was something worthy of Wang Ling's attention. While Chiechyohu wasn't very strong, the silver-skinned man standing next to him was an expert. Grenade-throwing Senior Immortal was already a true venerated, and was about to become a venerated immortal. But this silver-skinned man actually had the fighting strength of 10 grenade-throwing Senior Immortals. A whole 10 grenade-throwing Senior Immortals. Wang Ling sked in his heart. Father, look. At that moment, Starlight Kyuka let down his hair to reveal 2 pitiful bald spots on the top of his head. This is... Chiechyohu was stupefied. He was well aware that his daughter's situation was different from other people's. Other people might have gone bald and become stronger. But his daughter's situation was the opposite. Baldness meant the loss of ghosts. Looking at the damage on the top of his head, his daughter had lost at least 10,000 ghosts. Chiechyohu was instantly a little incredulous. What the hell is going on? Why are there so many losses? It's Queen Wave. Starlight Kyuka said. For a moment, she felt that it would be hard for her to explain clearly to her father about that terrifying Queen Wave. Now, she was thinking the same thing as Devil Spirit. Apart from running, there was no other way. Escape from Earth, then go to another planet and start a new life. This was what Starlight Kyuka was currently thinking about. Starlight. Calm down. Our grand plan is being carried out steadily. Very soon, we'll unify the entire Earth. As your father, I won't allow you to think of such a useless thing. Chiechyohu felt that Starlight Kyuka must have been under too much pressure recently. Maybe she was hallucinating. Wasn't it normal for people to lose hair when they were under high mental stress? For example, that author Kushwan who had been accused of plagiarism a while ago, it was said that his hair was about to fall out. Chiechyohu had already investigated the overall level of cultivators on Earth long ago. How could there be such a strong person, father? What I said is true. Starlight Kyuka felt that she couldn't explain herself. Chiechyohu still shook his head. I don't believe you, unless that Queen Wave you mentioned appears in front of me right now. At that moment, Wang Ling, who was observing everything through the king's eye, tilted his neck. He had never heard such a strange request. But given the gap in strength, Wang Ling didn't directly show himself, and just used the king's eye to summon a small clone. The small clone's face couldn't be seen clearly, it was just a vague outline. But the moment this outline appeared, Starlight Kyuka, who had already been tortured twice, recognized it at a glance. She was scared out of her wits on the spot. It's him. He's Queen Wave. Don't be afraid, daughter. Father is here. Chiechiohu sneered. Then, facing Wang Ling's virtual body, he exerted force from his feet and waist at the same time and threw a palm from a distance. Like an air cannon, the palm made an explosive sound as it rushed toward Wang Ling's small clone and accurately landed on Wang Ling's body. Then, the small clone wasn't hurt at all. For a moment, Wang Ling suddenly thought of a phrase that had recently become very popular. That was, scraping. Chapter 15:13. The small clone in front of him had about a trillionth of Wang Ling's strength. The main thing was that Wang Ling was worried that the main body wouldn't be able to control its power well. It could directly turn a person into tofu pudding. Otherwise, it wouldn't have used this method to test the waters. The small clone. It was just a small clone. In Wang Ling's view, it was relatively weak in all aspects. Based on the clone's level, the real clone was something like Crispy Noodles Dao Monarch. It was the highest level among the clones that Wang Ling had created so far. After the real clone, the clones were ranked. They were the normal clone, the big clone, and finally the small clone. The levels of the clones were different. There was also a huge difference in the actual battle strength that each clone possessed. The small clone was the weakest, yes. But Wang Ling hadn't expected it to be the weakest. The other party's damage to the small clone had actually only been scraping sand. And this little bit of damage was insignificant. Given the small clone's self-healing ability, it could repair itself in the blink of an eye. Thus, this level of spirit energy was completely negligible to Wang Ling. When his attack failed, Chiechihu's first reaction was disbelief. After a brief daze, he immediately condensed the metal in the nearby space. Pieces of fish scale-like armor formed in front of his eyes and whizzed toward Wang Ling's small clone. It had to be said that Chiechihu was an outstanding cultivator with a metal spirit root. This was a method of attacking by extracting rare metals from the nearby space. If you hadn't cultivated this magic to the acme of perfection, it would have been very difficult to do. The condensed pieces of golden metal scales cut through the air with an ear-piercing screech. Boom! The moment they collided with the small clone, a curtain of smoke rose up in front of them. Success! Chiechihu withdrew the ominous glint in his eyes. This was an original move of the golden scale meat mincing machine. It was mainly inspired by web authors who liked to drag out their updates. The moment the move was launched, the metal elements in the nearby space would quickly condense and turn into sharp, scale-like blades. Hundreds of thousands of fish scales would cut the target they had chosen together. In this storm of blades, it wouldn't last more than a few seconds. The body would turn into diced meat for dumplings. In the smoke, Wang Ling's little clone patted the dust off its body. The so-called law of smoke and no harm was once again reflected at this moment. Akino Shohu was an expert, but he was nothing compared to Wang Ling's little clone. The silhouette of the clone was not as tall as the main body. It looked to be about the size of a 10-year-old child, but the deterrence it emitted was astonishing. The clone raised his hand, and the smoke in the area was completely swept away. The golden scale meat mincing machine just now had no effect on the clone at all. He walked step by step towards Akano Choku. His footsteps were silent. But here, everyone's hearts seemed to be ringing like a great Tao bell. Starlight Jiogong, Chiechiohu, and that silver-skinned human king, who was standing to the side and had the battle strength of 10 grenade-throwing senior immortals, were scared witless. Monster! What kind of monster is this? Chiechiohu shouted in fear. His unique skill was completely ineffective. This was something that Akano Choku did not expect. At that moment, in the main hall of Golden City, Akano Chohu, Starlight Jiogong, and that silver-skinned human king with the battle strength of 10 thunders. Under the small clone's footsteps, they quickly retreated. The trembling was too strong. The small clone hadn't even made a move yet. Just by suppressing them with its aura, the three of them were already scared out of their wits. It just took a light step forward. The chi and blood in their chests were already overflowing, and they all suffered internal injuries. With a wah sound, they spat out blood in unison. No, they had to resist. They had to run. If they didn't, they would die. At the same time, all three of them thought of running. Night of 100 Ghosts. Starlight Jiogong shouted at that moment. Helpless, Starlight Jiogong could only pull out a tuft of his hair. With a gentle blow, the shrill screams of many wandering souls and vengeful ghosts immediately rang out in the main hall. Night of 100 Ghosts. In a short period of time, he could summon over 100 powerful ghosts to control. It was a little similar to Gao Tianming from No. 1 Devil Subduing High, who could control over 100 puppets. It was just that, Night of 100 Ghosts wasn't so complicated, and it was an instant spell, so it was still disruptive. For other cultivators in particular, it might be very difficult to deal with. But now, it was Wang Ling's small clone who was standing here. The clone didn't care about this kind of method at all. The clone gently raised its hand. The movement of the hand was clearly extremely lazy and slow, but it directly grabbed one of the ghosts that was scurrying around in the air. Then, with a bang, it crushed the haunted house's head on the spot. The spell trap set up by the main body was also beneficial to the clone. The one-click cleanup effect was triggered, and over 100 wandering ghosts were instantly turned to ashes. Starlight Jiogong seemed to have expected this result. She actually didn't know how the little monster in front of her had done it. But the moment she saw it with her own eyes, Starlight Jiogong's already bald scalp felt a little numb. When Starlight Jiogong calmed down, she was stunned to find that her father and that silver-skinned human king, who had been standing next to her, had actually run away. On the ground, Chiechiohu used his own way to leave Starlight Jiogong's last words. "Daughter, Dad will always love you, my ass." Abandoned by her biological father in an instant, Starlight Jiogong's face was full of despair. She even wondered if she really was Chiechiohu's biological daughter. "Is it okay for us to leave just like this?" Silver-skinned human king asked worriedly, scepter in hand. This was a spatial magic artifact, warp. It had the ability to teleport short distances. With a light tap of the scepter, it could get them out of danger. That person wouldn't kill Starlight. If he really wanted to kill her, he would have done it long ago. Chiechiohu took out a disc magic artifact and brought up an image of the core hall. This image was projected in the air. He had wanted to see Starlight Jiogong's situation. In the end, the image showed that Starlight Jiogong had already fallen face down. She looked completely unconscious. The little monster, whose silhouette could only be seen clearly, slowly got up from the ground and abruptly looked in the direction of the monitor, as if it was looking at Chiechiohu affectionately. In the next moment, whether it was Chiechiohu or silver-skinned human king, the smiles on their faces completely disappeared. Because in the image in the air, the little monster directly reached out towards them. A small palm directly penetrated through the screen and grabbed his head. Chapter 15-14. Are you a human or a ghost? The moment the little clone's hand touched Chiechiohu's head, the hair on the back of his neck instantly stood on end. He subconsciously shrank his neck and tried to break free. However, the little clone was too strong, and its small hand was like a suction cup that gripped Chiechiohu's entire head like a bowling ball. Then, it lifted up. The little clone wasn't a complete body, and didn't have intelligence like Crispy Noodle's Dao monarchs. It was just a small fraction of Wang Ling's strength. Thus, the little clone didn't answer Chiechiohu's questions. He was an emotionless being. The strength in the little hand gradually increased. Chiechiohu felt as if the top of his head was being cut open. Don't use so much strength, it hurts." Chiechiohu gasped in pain. His whole body was convulsing, and the feeling of struggling before death made him feel powerless in the face of everything. At the same time, he realized something. This little monster in front of him was serious. The other party really did want to kill him. Help me. Chiechiohu shouted weakly. As a cultivator with an outstanding metal spirit root, he had already completely metallized his head to increase the strength of his body. At that moment, Chiechiohu's entire body was coated with a layer of metal. But this level of physical strength still wasn't enough in the face of the little clone's strength. The little clone was emotionless and expressionless, and Chiechiohu couldn't even clearly see what it looked like. It only gave him a terrifying outline that pierced the depths of his soul. In the face of the little clone that was floating in front of him like a child or a demon, Chiechiohu instantly felt that the cultivation path he had been pursuing for thousands of years had been completely overturned in that moment. Even his worldview collapsed at the same time. Just as the little clone was about to crush Chiechiohu's head like a watermelon, next to him, Silver Skin Human King finally couldn't take it anymore. He stretched out his hands and took out a very small magic artifact. Looking at it from the little clone's perspective, Wang Ling was stunned to see that it was actually a black top the size of a ping-pong ball. What was this? There was a puzzled look in his eyes. Somehow, he felt that this black top looked a little familiar. Just then, Wang Ling suddenly felt the little clone's vision blur. As the pitch-black top spun, countless rays of light that were invisible to the naked eye were released. In his king's eye, it was an extremely distorted pitch-black ray of light that directly formed a vortex, as if it could suck in a person's mind. Before Wang Ling could react, there was a bang. The doppelganger was affected by the gyroscopic ray. Due to the imbalance in space, it was forced to disappear. Was this the power of the black stone? Wang Ling was surprised by this result. However, he was sure that the 100 rays released by the black top came from the black stone that Peng Shiren had taken out back then. It was just that the special energy released by the spinning top was not as powerful as the black stone. It wouldn't be surprising if he sent a clone over. If it was Crispy Noodles Dao Monarch's highest level, true clone, he wouldn't have been affected like this. When he was dealing with Akano Takaru, Wang Ling controlled the little clone's will. As a result, the small clone's movements seemed slow and unhurried. Actually, he just wanted to see if Akano Takaru and Silver Skin Human King had any other trump cards up their sleeves. Wang Ling was pleasantly surprised by his current harvest. He had been searching for the whereabouts of the black stone all along. After Peng Shiren disappeared, he had lost track of the black stone. Who would have thought that on this trip abroad, he would once again find that vine he had always wanted to catch. On the other side, the Silver Skin Human King and Akano Takaru used the black top to push back Wang Ling's little clone. Both of their expressions were exceptionally unsightly. The power of the black stone had been fused into the top, and the radiation it produced was too strong. When Peng Shiren had held the black stone back then, he had been severely injured every second, let alone Akano Takaru and this Silver Skin Human King. It had only been a few seconds since they had taken out the top. The moment the little clone disappeared, both of them collapsed, their faces pale, and they vomited blood like crazy. The Silver Skin Human King used the last of his strength to put 2 life-saving elixirs into Akano Takaru's mouth and into his own. After a long while, as the effects of the elixirs dissolved in their bodies, the two of them regained their ability to move. In less than 2 seconds, both of them had lost over 500 years of cultivation on average. Are you crazy? You actually used this kind of thing? I had no choice. You were about to be crushed to death by that little monster just now. The Silver Skin Human King said. Senior Peng said that this top was dangerous. But I had to do it to save my life. But that's 500 years of cultivation. Where there's life, there's hope. The Silver Skin Human King said. This black top pushed back that monster's clone, so the monster's main body will definitely be severely injured. We won't be the only ones injured. That's true. Akano Takaru nodded. Then, what should we do now? We can only ask Senior Peng for help first, the Silver Skin Human King said. Also, I suggest that we temporarily move our headquarters to the space where Senior Peng is now. That place? Akano Takara frowned. But once we go there, we'll lose all our abilities. It's the same. Senior Peng also doesn't have the ability now, right? The silver-skinned human king smiled bitterly. They had no other choice. After all, they still had to avoid that monster's follow-up actions. To be on the safe side, it was better to hide and command first. In the dormitory, Wang Ling once again locked onto Akano Takaru and the silver-skinned human king's positions. He didn't continue. Instead, he planned to cast a long line to catch a big fish and see what they would do next. As for the injury that the silver-skinned human king had mentioned, actually, it wasn't an exaggeration. Wang Ling was indeed injured. After all, that black stone could emit a strange ray that limited his strength. After a while, Wang Ling would naturally have it. But just now, in those 2 seconds, because of that black top containing the power of the black stone, it had actually shaken off half a centimeter of Wang Ling's hair. Wang Ling was utterly stunned. So, this was what it felt like to be injured. Actually, Wang Ling was a little touched. After all, there weren't many people in this universe who could truly hurt him. He sighed emotionally in his heart. Wang Ling suddenly received a message from Jai Yin. It was almost midnight. At this time, the freshman welcoming party had already ended. Jai Yin's message made Wang Ling frown slightly. Wang Ling summarized Jai Yin's message. It said that several girls were walking toward his dormitory after the freshman welcoming party. Chapter 15:15. About 2 hours ago. Wang Ling had been battling wits and courage with the 9 Palace Starlight Group. Jiudao Wahai's freshman welcoming party had just begun. Students in China weren't allowed to drink, but at Jiudao Wahai's freshman welcoming party, there were still some low-alcohol mixed drinks. A lot of people came over to toast Lotus Sun and Wang Ming with evil intentions in an attempt to get them drunk. Welcome from afar. On behalf of Jodawa's Red Flame Association, would like to extend a warm welcome to you. Let's drink first. I'll drink first as a sign of respect. A man who claimed to be from the 9 Paths and the Crimson Flame Society said. It wasn't until then that Lotus Sun realized that the internal structure of Jodawa was actually quite complicated. Although there were student unions in China, they were officially recognized organizations. It was strictly forbidden for students to form cliques in private. But in Sun Island's Jiudao High, this was actually allowed. It was said that this was to foster a sense of competition between students. Only with competition could there be progress. The gangs set up by these students were actually on the same level as the student union. If the overall score of a gang exceeded that of the student union in the annual comprehensive survey, the president of the student union would change hands. So in some sense, the current president of the student union of Jiudao Wahai was that Akano Usagi with 2 birds, Peacock Man and Sparrow Girl. He was actually quite a capable person. In the last few years, the overall score of the student union had been very high, even higher than the scores of the small student gangs put together. Some people said that before Akano Usagi graduated, his position as president of the student union was 100% secure. Jiudao Wahai now had the 7 biggest gangs known as the Rainbow 7 Gang, Red Flame Association, Orange Light Association, Yellow Regency Association, Green Hair Association, Blue Appearance Association, and Purple Maple Association. They all had the urge to bring down the student union. But because of the enormous influence of the student union, they were also afraid that their own student gangs would use too much force. On the contrary, it might even benefit other gangs. Just like that, the Rainbow 7 Suns gang formed a marvelous balance of power. Currently, Jiudao Wahai was led by Usagi, and the student union, as well as the Rainbow 7 gang, which had a wonderful balance of power. It was also known as the Generation of Miracles by Jiudao and his students. Sister-in-law, don't you think this Joha High School is very interesting? Wang Ming picked up a goblet and smiled. This was the highest alcohol level cocktail in the restaurant. Wang Ming was an adult to begin with, and he could actually hold his liquor very well. Every time he encountered a research bottleneck, Wang Ming would in fact secretly drink erguotu in search of inspiration. Little brother fool is making fun of me again. Lotus Sun's face was as red as a tomato. I can call you Miss Rome, but every time I call you Miss Rome, it's Miss Rome. In their hearts, they would call out for sister-in-law 1,000 times. Wang Ming said, I've now completely figured it out. You and Ling Ling are together. It seems to be beneficial to me too. I don't have to worry about my research funding anymore. Lotus Sun, it could only mean that brother was still Brother Ming. With just a few words, he had rendered Lotus Sun speechless. Silently sighing, the girl could only blush and quickly change the topic. That chive Sasaki is more capable than I thought. Indeed. Wang Ming nodded. Under Jyoha's system, it's indeed not easy for him to stand firm. Speaking of ligation. Then, has Miss Rong thought about ligation after you and Ling Ling get married? Of course, the point isn't ligation, but marriage. Lotus Sun's face was still red as she pretended she hadn't heard anything and said to herself, Little brother fool, have you noticed that the alcoholic drinks here are pretty good? Indeed. Wang Ming nodded. Speaking of drinking, how many tables will you and Ling Ling have to set up for your wedding? After chatting with Wang Ming for a while, quite a number of Jyoha gang members came over to propose a toast. The truth was that this bit of alcohol couldn't do anything to Wang Ming or Lotus Sun at all. As long as Wang Ming wanted to, he could use his brain waves to disperse the alcohol through his pores at any time. As for Lotus Sun, it was even easier. She had mysterious C's sword chi to protect her, and as soon as the alcohol entered her heart meridian, the protective effect of the sword chi would dilute the alcohol in her blood vessels. No matter how strong the alcohol was, when it entered Lotus Sun's body, it would be like watered-down beer in KTV, and she wouldn't feel the alcohol at all. It was close to 11 o'clock, but Lotus Sun and Wang Ming were still on high alert. Their intuition told them that this freshman welcoming party wasn't as simple as it seemed. Sure enough, just as the party was about to end, Sparrow, the vice president of the student union, suddenly took the initiative to talk to Lotus Sunday. At that moment, the whole audience instantly fell silent. Apart from the light and melodious dance music, it was as if everyone had discussed it beforehand as they waited for the confrontation between Sparrow and Lotus Sunday. Hello, Lotus-chan, I've actually been meaning to ask you just now. Why didn't Ho Lang Sang come? He's not feeling well and is resting, Lotus Sun said with a vigilant look in her eyes. Oh, I see, that's really a pity. I heard that Ho Lang Sang is your school's famous mascot, and that number 60 high has won several big prizes because of it. That's the result of everyone's joint efforts. He who gets Ho Lang Sang wins the world. This saying can't be false, right? Sparrow laughed. Ho Lang Sang ranks very high on Jodao's comprehensive national ranking list of high school students. What ranking is this? At that moment, Lotus Sun's eyes darkened as she suddenly felt like she had been tricked. Although the girl in front of her had a nickname, Sparrow, it was clear that she was a man-eating sparrow. Wang Ling had been focused on dealing with 9 Palace Star Brilliance earlier. He had never thought that at the end of the freshman welcoming party, a group of strange girls would suddenly come looking for him. Jai Yin had been monitoring the door, but by the time she realized that something was wrong, it was already too late. That was because there were so many girls looking for Wang Ling, and not just girls, there were also quite a few boys. There was no way she could stop them on her own. The point was that she couldn't directly make a move. Jai Yin was well aware that she was now an assistant teacher at number 60 high, and represented number 60 high's image. If she rushed out just like that, wouldn't that be ruining her image? In the distance, Sparrow, who felt that her scheme had succeeded, sneered. Have you watched Wolf Tooth List? Of course, it's an ancient power play from Huaxiu Nation. My parents watch it all the time, said Leek Sasaki. Don't you think that my current method is similar to this TV series? You mean that Qilin scholar Mei Xiaosu in the TV series? That's right. Sparrow nodded. I've already released the news. He who gets Ho Lang Sang wins the world. This way, a lot of people, men and women, we'll look for that Ho Lang Sang to cooperate with. In this way, won't the president and eldest Miss Sun have a chance to go on a date? As expected of Sparrow Sauce. But I still don't understand, what's with that ranking list of high school students? Why is Ho Lang Sang's name on it? That. Sparrow chuckled. Of course I added it in the black gold system. Do you really think that Ho Lang Sang is very strong? No way, no way. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.